We only have inside cats because we used to have cats that went inside and outside. Oh, yeah. And then they became coyote food. And trying to explain that to, I think my daughter was 9 at the time, was just like, fuck, man. It was heavy. Yeah. And it was heavy because she found the head out in the swamp.
She found the cat head?
She found the cat's head, bro. And, I mean, fuck, dude. On one hand, it's like, it's super fucking, I mean, that's a fucking tragedy for a young girl to go through. Yeah. But on the other hand, I mean, dude, learning about death through animals is probably a more healthy manner than like you're fucking 17 years old and you lose grandma and you never went through anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, good point.
And so, yeah, that cat now lives inside and it's always trying to escape. Because, dude, I mean, fuck, it's like, I don't care how domesticated an animal is. It wants to go out in the woods and fucking look for mice.
Oh, yeah.
That's what cats want to do.
Yeah, they want to go out and get a rat, bring it home, show you how skilled they are as hunters.
Bro, you want to know what's crazy is with our last cats, they would go out into the swamp and they would bring rats back. And I've never had a rat problem in this house. Not one time. Never seen a sign of a rat. But they would go out to the swamp and find them and bring them back literally like 2 or 3 times a day and feed them to our male Jack Russell that you just met. And he'd eat the whole thing, swallow it whole. You'd watch the tail get slurped down. And so we called the vet and we're like, you know, our male Jack is eating like 2 or 3 rats a day.
That's insane.
Is that okay? And they're like, the only concern for consuming rodents is heartworm. And that's an East Coast thing. We don't have it here in Washington. So you're just saving money on dog food.
Legit 2 or 3 rats
Bro,
a day.
Every day, man.
And a Jack Russell's mouth isn't that big. So it's not like, you know, he would just swallow them.
He would, man. I mean, it would almost look like, I'm sure you've seen a snake eat, right?
Oh, yeah.
It would almost look like that. Like his whole mouth would just be full of this rat. And he would like kind of kink his neck back and forth and you'd watch the tail. Because when I was younger, I had a Burmese python. You watch how they like move their neck to swallow their prey. Yeah. It was kind of similar.
Dude, he's probably bummed out when the cat got
got for sure.
Down. He's just like living the high life, eating 2 rats a day.
Yeah, I mean, they're bred for Jack Russells are hunters. So like their prey drive is insane.
Right.
Dude. And like he sees a rodent, a rabbit, a squirrel. It's fucking go until he gets it. But it was weird watching him work in unison. The cat would walk along the top of the fence and he'd like patrol back and forth underneath it. The cat would jump down into the grass out in the swamp, jump back and throw it to him. It was like, they were this little team.
Best buddies.
Yeah. So yeah, as I always do with my podcast, I just push play and ambush and we start the show like that.
We're on. And
obviously, I mean, you've been in the podcast world for years and years now.
Yeah,
right?
6 years.
Okay, so there's no nerves for you.
Yeah.
Man, it's weird though. A lot of people, I shouldn't say it's weird. They're new to this. I had actually the show dropped yesterday and it was 2 brothers and a father that started a local business that really got fucked over by COVID. And they're like, we're super nervous to have you over and do the show. It's like, bro, just relax and let me take lead and we'll have fun with it, you know? Yeah. And then we did.
It takes some reps, you know, and if you're not used to doing extemporate, you know, I used that big word last time, just like improvising, right?
Yeah.
If you're not used to that, you could do it in your domain, right? You could stand up in front of a class or you could stand up in front of your coworkers and deliver something, you know, speak on your sort of area domain of expertise. But once it's like, okay, the mics are on, now we're talking, it's like, oh no.
Yeah. And what I've noticed is it was like once I push record, I don't give myself any option to edit.
Yeah.
Like if I, dude, what were we talking about? If I have any of those moments, I leave them on the show.
I like that.
Because I think it's important for listeners to get an authentic snippet of, or like long-term conversation, whatever it is that I'm providing. I want them to be part of how it really happened.
Right.
And so I take all editing out. And there's only been a handful of times that I've edited stuff, and it's usually on like a request of a guest. They're like, hey, you know what? I said something about a company that I probably shouldn't have said. And that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of this medium is that you feel like you're in on the conversation. And you and I as podcast producers and also podcast consumers if you're driving, you're listening to a podcast, or you're in the gym and listening to a podcast, it feels like you're hanging out, you know?
And bro, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You know? And what's interesting is every once in a while, and it's happening more frequently, but not like it's that frequently, but people come up to me and be like, bro, I've been listening to your podcast. I fucking love what you stand for. I love your message. And bro, there's a homie vibe already.
Yeah.
Like they know me
They do.
through this. And I think it's cool as fuck, man. Like I would never diminish the significance of that, because long before I was in this world, I listened to Rogan and Jocko, and make no mistake about it, I know them.
Yeah, for sure.
I could tell you things about their life. I could tell you their preferences, and it's, you know?
Well, when you listen to 10, 40, 500 hours
Yeah.
of someone's content, and they make references to something in their childhood, or they make references to, you know, their diarrhea the day before, they're disclosing this information. They sort of slip it in, and then it's like you are a witness to that. You're kind of on the inside track. And I know that you experience this too, is like you're having conversations on the podcast that you wouldn't have with your wife or your kids or your friends necessarily, partly because that's topical. You know, I'm here today to talk about a thing. We're going to get to it. We're going to talk through it. But the difference is that you're disclosing and going down little streams of ideas way far, and then you bring it back, and those streams of ideas within this context where we're like sitting down and just like purposefully chatting about a thing, like you're going to disclose stuff whether you mean to or not that your wife doesn't know, that my wife doesn't know. And so for like yourself and myself, we're privy to an aspect of someone's reality that is very open and very vulnerable, that you do feel like you do know them.
Yeah.
And it's not like you think you know them, you actually know them, because again, you've listened to, you know, in my case, I've got 430 episodes of 1 hour interviews where I've made references to, you know, vaccinations or depression or, you know, struggles that I've, you know, come across during these interviews that a lot of people closest to me in my life have no idea about. And here's the other thing that's funny too, is a lot of my friends and family don't listen to my podcast. I don't know.
Do you ever like not expect them to, but like there's been times when I've referenced something from a podcast and my wife's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's right. You're my wife. You're not a consumer of my product.
Right. Exactly. Well, the funny thing is like, you know, if I'm giving someone, you know, either if I'm coaching someone and I'm giving them a piece of advice, or I'm giving them a tool or a technique or a product suggestion or whatever, that's one thing. If I'm talking to my parents and suggesting that they go on low carb, which I've done for a decade.
Me too.
A decade. And then finally, I've given them the 4 hour body, you know, I've sent them literature. I've, you know, sat around drinking tea with them, chatting them, you know, giving them suggestions. And it's like, it's just the same thing. They hear it from you so many times, but until it's their idea, it doesn't matter if you've talked about it or if you spend hours and hours researching it. It's like, it has to be their idea. So all of this content that I have, all this biohacking, all this performance, all this mentality stuff that I spend a large portion of my life focused on, my best friend doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. No, dude, it's funny. I've had that same relationship with my mother, because it's like my whole adult life has been about fitness, exercise, martial arts. I got my degree in exercise physiology. Like professionally, sure, I was a soldier and I was in law enforcement, but like my hobbies and my interests have always been rooted in performance. And so I was like, and then my mom would complain, be like, I just can't seem to lose this weight, you know? And it's like, Mom, listen to me.
Yeah.
Just listen to me. If you eat these foods and you go walk for 45 minutes first thing in the morning, and you do this and you do this and you drink this much water, everything will happen.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and like all the excuses start coming, you know?
Well, and I'm sure I know for sure you've experienced this too, where your wife will make a suggestion 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, but it doesn't, you don't hear it. But then Jocko makes a suggestion, or, you know, you hear it on a podcast and you're like, honey, listen to this.
Bro, fuck, dude. I wish I had like an exact example because that's happened so many times.
Yeah.
And my wife will just be like, "Oh, Jocko said that? Yeah. Is that the first time you've heard that?
You fool."
Has anyone else ever suggested that? I'm just like, damn it.
Yeah, you should go to bed. You should go to bed before midnight. Like I've been trying to tell you that for a decade, you know?
We actually just had genetic tests done, and both of us came back being night owls. Now, I don't know what that means necessarily. Like, I guess you're genetically more predisposed to want to be awake during certain times of the day. And because me and my wife, we love staying up super fucking late and talking. And then the mornings were just like, ugh, fuck, dude. You know? So it was like a little bit of validation. Like, oh, see, that's just our genetics.
Just blame it on my DNA.
Yeah, I can't get up when Jocko gets up.
Yeah.
My DNA says otherwise.
A lot of high intellect, high performing people, a lot of clients of mine have that very same thing. And I think that it's a couple things. It could be genetic. It could be just that's when they've, over the span of their life, that's where they get their most studying done. That's when they do their best thinking. It's dark out, it's quiet. You're able to like get rid of, sort of the residue from the day.
All the noise shuts off.
Yeah. And then you get into like a little bit of flow state. You hit that second wind at 10 p.m. Where it's probably a good idea for you to go to sleep. But biologically, you're predisposed to be able to go to bed later and sleep later. There's Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and they do what's called a chronotype quiz. And in the chronotype quiz, there are basically 4 sleep chronotypes. There's the bear, the wolf, the dolphin, and I forget what the fourth one is. The dolphin is like polyphasic sleep, like you're all over the place. Sometimes you go to bed, your sleep drive is kind of all over the map. The bear is like the typical person. Most people, go to bed, in a typical, between 10 and midnight, and they, prefer to get up between, 6 and 8 o'clock. That's the bear. The night owl is the wolf, and the wolf stays up late to hunt and then sleeps in the morning. And there are ways, again, if you look at, I think it's sleepdoctor.com, you can go look into some of the studies, and there's a best time to have sex. There's a best time to do creative work. There's a best time to eat, to ask for a raise, to work out. That's specific to that chronotype. I would suggest that you go check that out, because
I will for sure.
It's really
how
fascinating.
do they assign your chronotype? Is it like a questionnaire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an online survey.
You don't have to send a hair sample in or anything.
Yeah, no. Well, but
I'm already in the databases.
Yeah, your information is 10 miles underground in Utah already.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So fuck, man. I did your show. It wasn't that long ago. What, 2 months ago or something?
A couple months.
And it was just a good vibe, good time. We fucking hit it off. I think you say your show's an hour, and we did like 220 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I know at the time I was like, man, like you got to do my show at some time, because that's part of the fun of this industry is like when you vibe with people, man, let's bounce back and forth and just help get exposure, help get each other's message out. And it was cool. So here we are, 2 months later, and we're doing a show, and then we're training jiu-jitsu afterwards.
Yeah, we are. I'm so stoked to go check out the gym, dude.
Yeah, you're going to have fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
So just give a little introduction, people hear the term biohacker.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think of just like weird guys putting red lights in their nose.
Right.
I saw that the other day. Yeah. But kind of like just unpack it, help people understand what it is that gives you that title and what it means.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people kind of conflate biohacking with like transhumanism, right? They think, tech embedded, microchips in your arm to do this or that, and it's not really the case. The way that I think about biohacking is controlling what goes in you, on you, and around you to optimize your physiology and your cognition. And it's a really wide spectrum of disciplines and modalities and processes to really think of your body and your brain and your goals as like a laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing a ton of biohacking already. We just took, we took a pill, we took some ketone IQ.
Yep.
Like we just, you're already tinkering around with nutrients that help you up level your performance. It's like, okay, it's time to be talkative. How can I hack that? Right. It's time to go roll. How can I hack that? So what do you take? How do you breathe? What do you wear? You know, these types of tools that we use are a way to get the most from the least. I'm a huge proponent of minimum effective dose, right? I want to get the most bang for my buck. I want to get the most impact with the least amount of effort that I possibly can in everything that I do. Mm-hmm. So that can look a lot of different ways. My sort of origin story into this was I was working at a local radio station in my 20s. I was making good money and having fun and partying too hard, and
which is part of being in your 20s.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I had a great time. I mean, I've seen so many. I mean, I'm super thankful. I got to see so much live music, you know, as part of my gig working at KISW.
Okay.
I mean, I saw Tool a bunch, saw Metallica, I saw AC/DC. I mean, it just tons of shows at the Crocodile, you know, saw a lot of live music, and it was fun, but also I wanted to do something that was maybe a little bit more meaningful for myself. So, even before then, my folks taught me transcendental meditation when I was 12.
Is that the and like think of nothing, right?
Well, technically, transcendental meditation is a mantra-based meditation. So it's the silent reciting of a mantra over and over. There's some things that you do with your eyes, with your eyelids closed. It's 2 20-minute meditation sessions every single day. So that's Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the Beatles, Seinfeld, David Lynch, Russell Brand.
Yeah.
All those guys do TM.
Is the mantra anything you want? Or is it something assigned?
It's something assigned, and the critics of the TM sort of model is that you have to pay to take this course where they teach it to you, and then you're given a mantra, and you can find it on the internet, and it's
and it's free.
It's free.
Yeah. Pro tip. It's already out there.
It's already out there. So for me,
I tell you what, like I actually did a little workshop on transcendental. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I did a workshop on it. I should know how to say it since I did a workshop. But the guy leading that workshop, he said the same thing. He's like, I find the benefits of this method to be massive, but I also see it becoming more commercialized, which makes me kind of want to distance myself from it.
Yeah. Well, and if you dig into the literature again, so the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was a yogi from India who came over to the West. He taught the Beatles TM, and he was really like the first guy to really elevate this idea, this style of meditation. And there's a bunch, right? There's Vipassana, there's Zazen and mindfulness. These are all different techniques for meditation. My parents, the hippies that they took a TM course in college, and they continued to use it for themselves. And then I was 12. I was a fucking animal. I mean, my brothers and I were fighting every single day. I was outside. I was breaking bones and smashing shit, and I couldn't sit still. You know, they took me to go get me checked out for ADHD. They're like, yeah, he does. But my dad, as a behavior analyst, a behaviorist, sort of Skinner trained behaviorist, was like, I don't want to put my kids on medication.
And I had the same conversation with Bill yesterday, recording the episode that comes out next week. And it's like, for a while there, that was just the go-to. Your kid's hyper, pump them full of drugs.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of parents, it's not even necessarily a fault of their own. They just blindly trusted the pharmaceutical system that we have in place here.
Yeah.
And it's fucking sad, man.
Yeah. We're gonna undermine that a lot today.
Yeah.
In our conversation. We're gonna undermine that quite a lot, because you and I are on the same page, and I speak very openly against, you know, the big pharma and the industries and the ways that they make money. So instead of giving me Ritalin or whatever as a kid, as a 12-year-old, they're like, let's just try TM. Let's just try to teach Sean meditation. and I fucking hated it. I mean, imagine that. Like,
I have to sit there and not move for 20 minutes.
Quietly, silently repeating this mantra over and over, putting my head, pointing my eyes, looking up towards my third eye during meditation. I hated it.
Were they still actively practicing throughout your life? So it was like something that was familiar to you?
They would use it kind of on demand. So my mom would use it if she was becoming overwhelmed. She would sort of use it when she, was fit to be tied or frustrated. She would just go in. She's like, I'm just going to go sit. And we just kind of knew that mom was going to go meditate. My dad got away from it because he found that it sort of dulled his sword a little bit. He felt like it took away a little bit of his edge in work and in the things that were important to him. And so, I begrudgingly, every time my parents said, Sean, go sit, I was like, fuck, okay. So I'd go into my room and I'd shut the door, and then I just, I'd stare at the ceiling and, look at the, poster of Jenny McCarthy up in my room. Or
I still have one of those in my shop.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I've literally had it since I was fucking like 17.
Is it the one where she's in like the white lingerie? That's the one that's what I had.
Dude, it's a Playboy one, but she's not naked, so I can show you. It's the shop that's adjacent to my gym, so we can go take a look after training.
I'm gonna need to see that. So I'd sit there and I'd fake it, and then eventually, like, I would say, okay, I'll just try it. So I tried it for weeks and weeks and weeks and months until finally I had that sort of light bulb moment where it all made sense. I sort of forgot what I was doing. I had this moment of sort of like calm and peace and interconnectedness and reverie and vision, and had all this creative. I'd had music lyrics coming in from nowhere, and it worked. Finally, it worked. And it was at that moment that, it's probably 12 and a half ish, where I was like, oh, I get it. I actually do feel calmer. I do feel good. I do feel focused. Like,
how cool is that?
Dude, it was a turning point for me. Like,
and see, being 12, you probably didn't understand that, like, it doesn't matter what you start putting effort into. Eventually, if you put the right energy into things, it's going to come together for you. And I have this talk with people almost on a daily basis that are new to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Because I'm like, when you step on the mats, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like a fish flopping around on the beach. But 90 days in, by 90 days, you're probably going to have that aha moment where everything kind of comes together.
Right.
And it sounds like it's the same thing, but it took 6 months or something.
It takes a long, long time. And then you see the value of it. You see how you are participating in your own reality a little bit, the choices that you're making. I mean, this absolutely applies to jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, okay, well, if I bring my hips down, then that's going to, open up an opportunity for me. And for me, it's like, okay, well, if I breathe in this way, then I can slip into a deeper state of consciousness and meditation. So I had this reference point to a modality that I could use, that I could actually change my brain. I was sort of hacking my consciousness. This was obviously years before my first acid trip, years before my first, float session. But I had this reference point that there was something that I could do that could change my consciousness in a very real way. And so fast forward again to, my years selling advertising at the rock station. And, I got to this point where I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't want to sit in a cubicle. I'm not cut out for this. And so I did some research. I got really interested. I got back into meditation, and through sort of my own research into meditation, I became increasingly aware of flotation therapy, float tanks, sensory deprivation tanks. I'm sure people who have listened to Rogan for years, know that he's got a float tank. Mm-hmm. So I said to my wife, I remember it like it was yesterday. We were driving back. We commuted together from downtown Seattle. We were driving back to our studio apartment. And I said, hey, I don't know that I want to do this forever. Like, do you want to do this forever? She's like, I don't know.
No, she worked with you.
She actually coincidentally worked in the same building.
Okay.
So she worked at Seattle Children's. I was at Intercom Radio, which had KISW, The End, The Mountain.
All the big ones when we were kids.
Exactly.
Metal Shop Saturday.
Metal Shop, dude. Those are my boys.
That's like the only time I could hear Korn and Pantera,
Yeah. Yeah. So like we're driving back from work, and I said, "Hey, I've got an idea." She's like, "What is it?" And she's, bullheaded Taurus, skeptical, like sick of my shit most of the time. And we were high school sweethearts. So we'd been together at that time for, a decade. And I was like, I think that we should open a flotation therapy center. And she's like, "Oh, is that the thing that you did like a year ago?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, like open like a wellness center?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Okay, I'm in." And that was it. Like everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
All my focus went to, and I had no business experience. I never took a business course. I had, not a single business course in college, like zero. But I was so committed to this idea of opening a float center. A year before, I went and found this dude on Craigslist and floated at his house in his basement. This is actually a kind of a wild story. I'm glad that
It's starting to sound a little Silence of the Lammy.
You have no idea.
Okay.
He saw me naked.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
Did he ask you to put lotion on your skin?
almost.
Yeah.
So the year before, again, I'm so glad we have as much time as we have, because I can tell these little fun stories.
Of course.
So I again, like I was looking for something that could enhance my meditation, that could like kind of bring me more back to center. Found flotation therapy. I thought there's got to be a float center somewhere. There's like one in New York. There's one in Chicago. There's one in LA. There's got to be one in Seattle. There wasn't. There was a dude, Brian Bales, in Bellevue, and he was a yoga instructor who had a float tank in his basement, and you could go hit him up on Craigslist and go float. So during my lunch break, while I was working at the radio station, I cruised over to his house and knock on the door, and he opens it up, and this is like, it's exactly what you think it would be. This yoga instructor, like white linen, hair up, like super long hair. He's like, "Hello." I'm like, "Oh fuck, what did I?"
Hello,
Sean, right? I'm like, yeah, Sean. And he's like, "Follow me. Would you like some tea?" And I go, "Nah, that's okay." He's like, "Okay, come on down." So I walk downstairs. We clip clop downstairs, and there's this gigantic float tank in his basement downstairs. And he's like, "Okay, so what I'm gonna have to ask you to do is to go down the hall and shower and really clean yourself off really thoroughly. And we want to make sure that you're really clean before you get in the float tank, so that we can preserve the sanctity and purity of the water in the float tank." I was like, "Oh, this may not be a good idea."
Yes. Even telling the story, I'm getting weird vibes.
I look like to see if there's any locks on the float tank. Like, how many dudes has this dude like murdered?
Yeah.
Roofied, And so I was like, I'm all in. I'm already here. So I take off my shirt, my tie, shower in this dude's basement, downstairs in his kid's bathroom. And he's like, "Just, you don't need a bathrobe. Just come on out naked and just get in the float tank." And I'm like, "Well, one in Rome. Cool. Let's go." So I'm buck naked, walking down the hallway into this basement area where he's got the float tank, and he walks me through the whole process. And I was really excited because I'd been, researching it for a long time. John Lilly was the creator of the float tank, and he was the same guy that gave acid to dolphins because he was trying to communicate with dolphins, like legit gave acid to dolphins, and found ways to like communicate with dolphins.
Is that dude still alive?
No, he passed away probably 10 years ago. He got way out there. He was doing intramuscular ketamine and going and floating in the float tank for like a day at a time. And he kind of lost it. Like he got unhinged.
Ketamine was actually a drug of choice of soldiers overseas.
Really?
And dude, a lot of people don't talk about this because like the military as a whole is kind of put up on a pedestal, right? And anything you say that might shine a bad light on that is kind of frowned on. But bro, dude, 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, dude, the team I was on was like, dudes are getting high.
Yeah.
Every fucking night. Like the morphine, no one had morphine, it's like, and then once all the morphine was gone, our 18 Delta is like, fuck man, I better go into town and like refill all of our fucking morphine. And he's like, "Oh dude, I can buy ketamine downtown too." So like a lot of the dudes are on ketamine.
Yeah.
All the time, bro. And they called it going to the spirit world. And they're like, "You want to go to the spirit world?" And I was always anti-drug. Like all through my 20s, I was of the mindset like, "Oh, marijuana's for losers and it's going to make you lazy." And it was because if you got caught with it, your career was over.
Yeah.
And like, on one hand, I think that was just a good way to behave as a soldier. But on the other hand, it's like, it's kind of fallen into the brainwashed bullshit. Like, oh, drugs are bad. Okay.
The DARE program.
Yeah. You know? And so it's funny looking back on it. It's like, fuck, if that was today, I'd have been shooting up ketamine with those dudes probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a dissociative, right? Like it's a really unique compound because what it does is it creates basically a disconnect between your ego, right? Like it disassociates you from your bullshit. And now it's legal in North America, and there are ketamine clinics everywhere because it's so effective for anxiety and depression, PTSD, because it disconnects you. It disassociates you from your sort of default mode network.
Yeah, so maybe it was good for all those dudes.
I think it was.
You know, like overseas in Iraq, when you're done at the end of the day, they'd fucking hit that and go lay in their rack.
Yeah, let go. Like, yeah, check out. Like,
so the dude that invented float tanks talked to dolphins high on acid and then was also deep into ketamine.
That's right, yeah. Yep.
Sounds like a pretty interesting guy.
He was a fascinating dude. He wrote all these books about his experiences in float tanks. You know,
what was his name again?
John Lilly.
Okay.
John C. Lilly. You can find Eye of the Storm or Eye of the Hurricane. I just threw myself into this. So I get in this guy's float tank, and he's like, "Okay, I'll see you in 90 minutes." And I got into my meditative state, and immediately like got into the zone, and had I would say probably 10 or 15 minutes into this 90 minutes, I had an out of body experience. And this was the second non-voluntary out of body non-voluntary out of body experience that I'd ever had. Like I'd had one more previously earlier, in a meditative state where I just disconnected from my body, went up 10 feet in the air, turned around and looked down at myself, and then just kind of like spaced out and flew around, like downtown Seattle. Could see the cars, could see the weather, like.
And you were like conscious and in control of this, huh?
Yeah. And the reason why I didn't freak out is because I had these meditative techniques that kept me kind of in the zone. As soon as you go, oh fuck, oh my God, then it's over.
You're sucked back in.
You're right back in.
Man, it's astral projecting,
Exactly,
right? Yeah, I've read books on that. Even when I was a kid, you remember Coast to Coast with Art Bell?
Oh, dude.
Bro, that was like my jam.
Me too.
So I was a little kid listening to all this weird shit,
Me
right?
too.
And I remember he was talking about like there was military programs, like learning how to astrally project. It's
Robert
fascinating.
Monroe, right?
Yep, Robert Monroe. I read his book, dude.
Yeah. So if you want to get back into it with all of your free time that you have.
Dude, my time is coming back. The gym's almost done. I'll be a normal human again.
There is a book called Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience that tells you exactly how to do it, exactly how to prepare for it, what it is, where to go. There's actually a Professor X style X-Men like geodesic dome on a platform out in Portugal where they're studying out-of-body projections. And so it's a legit thing, and you can do it. Anyone can do it, and it takes a ton of work throughout the day to get to that space. Later, I would devote like 18 months of my life to do this nightly when I slept. But I had this sort of out of body experience in Brian's basement in a float tank in my very first float, where I came up out of the tank and out into his backyard and looked at his backyard and saw his kids' play area. I saw the path that went around the perimeter of the backyard.
And you hadn't seen any of this shit. I
hadn't seen any of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay, here we go. And then I'm just kind of, I'm projecting with recall, absorbing this stuff, watching his, backyard. And then like I hear, Sean, your time is up. I'm like, holy shit, that felt like 20 minutes. Like, there's no way that was. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, that was 90 minutes. Come on out. I'm like, fuck. So he's like,
so if someone touches your physical body or interacts with your physical body, it basically pulls the astral projection right back.
Yeah, you'll pull back.
Okay.
Right. And even if you're doing it at night and you like, kind of snore yourself and kind of jar yourself, that'll pull you back. If you're having an experience in an out of body, in a projection, that's like startling or spooky or whatever, you'll pop back. It's really tough to stay in that projected state.
It's not like you can just fly away to the sun and never come back.
No, yeah. And the reason why is because you're attached by what they call the silver cord. So the silver cord attaches at the base of your skull and goes and attaches your psychosoma, which is your non-physical body, to your physical body. So you're always connected by that silver cord.
Okay.
When that silver cord is disconnected, then you die. But when you're in a projected state and you're out in the astral realm, you're connected by that silver cord.
Who's this guy Greg has on his podcast?
Oh,
he sounds crazy.
Yeah. It's like, I thought we were going to talk about like performance optimization. And this guy's, yeah.
No, bro. I mean, I talk about it on the show all the time. True wisdom is acknowledging you know nothing.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And like the older I get, the more I give validity to fucking anything.
Yeah.
Dude.
Right.
Because it's like every time you think you know something, you find out you don't know jack shit.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, you
Cool.
can fly out of your body and be
Sure.
attached by the silver cord. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound crazy to me anymore.
Good.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, just look at what we're doing as humanity as a whole. Like we're fucking a virus spinning around on a fucking rock that's
Right.
hurling through space, and we got this giant ball of fire that we fucking worship that gives us nutrients. Like everything's crazy, dude.
Yeah, everything's crazy.
So anything that people can fucking experience or come up with or claim that they've like kind of figured out, like
Yeah.
I want to hear more now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also think that that's just part of getting older, you know?
I agree.
But it's interesting. It sounds like you started to kind of get in touch with this stuff at a very, very young age.
I did. And so, you know, that was, by the way, I validated what I saw in his backyard. When I went to go shower, I sort of snuck over to the back sliding glass door to be like, did I actually see that? I looked, you know, pulled his curtains and
There it was.
I saw it before I physically saw it.
That's fucking cool, man.
It was wild. And so anyway, so that was my float experience, and that was my first float. And then, you know, a year later, I tell my wife, girlfriend at the time, longtime girlfriend, I was like, we should just do this. And she's like, okay, cool. And so we, for the next year, saved up and bootstrapped this flotation therapy center. And that was really like the on-ramp into biohacking.
Okay.
Like that was the very beginning of me getting into modalities and therapies and nutrients and cognitive enhancers and nootropics to really hack my biology. And anyone who's floated before knows just the power of just being weightless in 10 inches of Epsom salt water.
Where was your actual facility at?
So I started one in Green Lake in Seattle called Float Seattle. And then I started another one in Bellevue, Float Seattle in Bellevue. And then I sold it in 2018 to my general manager. And then he opened 2 more. So there's 4 locations now.
And they're still up and running?
Still up and running.
Okay.
Yeah. My
Is there one in Kirkland?
Those are the other guys. Yeah. That's Urban Float.
Urban Float.
Yep.
Okay. So I went to Urban Float one time, and contrary to what you just said, like anyone that's floated, man, I just didn't quite feel it.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of like, I don't know, I kind of want to go sleep. I'm kind of bored. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't have this like magical experience that everybody talks about. But again, you do something once,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it really does take 3 times because it's such a disorienting feeling to be totally cut off from sensory input and floating on your back, and it's dark and it's quiet and it's just you and your thoughts, and there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. It's just like breathe, be present, you know, like that takes a little time. I actually just hooked up my my jiu-jitsu instructor, Mark Chappell, with his first float yesterday. He kind of tweaked his back, and I said, you should go sauna, cold plunge, and then go float. And so I went in and trained last night, and he's telling everybody, he's like, dude, you guys, oh man, I don't know where to start.
well, and bro, as you know now, because you actually got into all the biohacking before jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But once you're in jiu-jitsu, you have to start taking care of your body off the mats. You have to.
You have to.
Or just fucking the wheels fall off.
It's true. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And I'm going to get into a whole bunch of that. So that that sort of opened the door. That was around the same time when Dave Asprey was first on Rogan, and he was talking about bulletproof coffee and talking about how you should put butter or MCT oil in your coffee as a way to like suppress your appetite, boost your ketones. And so that was like really kind of the emergence of this sort of second wave of biohacking. The first wave of biohacking was with a guy named John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've heard of the book. I never read it though.
So John Gray, they call him the grandfather of biohacking, is talking about these physical processes that we can do to increase our hormones and enhance our sexual prowess and perform at a higher biological level. So then it was like, okay, what else is out there? Started to take nootropic stacks like Alpha Brain, the racetam family. Racetams are a type of nootropic that are really strong. I was into modafinil. And then it sort of opened up even more where I became interested in, what sort of tech is there that I can use that's going to make me stronger or smarter or help me recover faster. And again, going back to this idea that when you control what goes in you, on you, and around you to optimize your biology and cognition, there's so much. So there's such a massive range, right? Like Chinese herbalism, I'm looking at the books behind you and looking at like all the nutrition stuff and all the fitness stuff. Paul Chek, he essentially living master, created the Swiss ball. He's doing biohacking in his ways. He's vaporizing herbs, like hitting the vape, this volcano vape with like a little bit of tobacco and herbs. He's using herbs to hack his cognition, right? He's using herbs to calm down at the end of the day. So I brought a whole bunch of, devices and stuff that I can kind of show and walk through, but
are we going to get high before jiu-jitsu?
I didn't bring that stuff.
Okay. all right. I'm just mentally preparing for what I'm about to get myself into.
Well, we could stick lasers up your nose.
Okay.
I did bring the nasal laser. So now like the way that I think about it is there's different ways that you can biohack, right? There's things that you can put in your body that are going to increase your hormones. BioPro Plus is such an incredible product. I mean, you know this and I know this. It's biohacking, right? Mm-hmm. It's giving you amino acids and shilajit and deer antler velvet to increase your hormones in a non-synthetic way. That is like basically the way that I think of it is one step before you go into like the HGH or TRT sort of domain, right? Stem cells, PRP, all this kind of falls into the bucket of the way that I think about biohacking. And you can think about it in kind of different categories too. Like you can biohack your sleep. The glasses that I'm wearing right now are blue blocking glasses that are yellow tinted. So I've been working on the computer most of the day today. I put these on and they're yellow tinted. So it's blocking the blue light from getting into my eyes, which is straining and, it causes, increases my, basically my fight or flight, my sympathetic nervous system. And it's, believe it or not, cloudy up here today. Mm-hmm. And so the yellow tint actually elevates my mood a little bit.
Are those prescription at all too?
No. Oh, you can get them in prescription.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wear these if I know it's a cloudy day and I'm going to be staring at the screen for a long time. And the tint in the yellow is soothing to my eye. So we'll just stick with the category of sleep, right? There's these ones too. So these are the amber colored. Try those on. So those are amber colored blue blocking glasses that at night, when you wear those, you are effectively blocking all of the blue light. Like if you pulled out your phone right now, or looked up at the lights, it's blocking blue light. And
dude, I'm already sold.
It's great, right?
Tell me where to buy these, and I'll use your coupon code.
Perfect. Raw Optics.
Raw
RA.
Okay.
Rawoptics.com, and the code is OPP. When the sun goes down, so let's just stick with sleep for a little bit, right?
Yep.
So you can wear these blue blocking glasses and effectively block the blue light that's going into your eyeballs that's signaling to you that it's still daytime out.
Yeah.
Like it's nighttime, but you're still getting blue light from your phone or the screen or LED lights. Like we have all incandescent lights at my house because the LED lights they're flickering.
Okay.
Right? They're flickering at a frequency, and some people can kind of notice it. Like when you walk into an office building and they've got those really bright LED lights.
Yeah, it feels like you're gonna have an epileptic seizure.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like terrible.
No, these are interesting because the phones and the TVs on and all that shit, like there's, and last time you were up here, I was talking about my wearing a Whoop strap and trying to learn more about my sleep. And it's like, even when I'm getting an optimal amount of sleep hours wise, it's still like, there's still nights when it's shit performance.
Right.
And then a lot of that, if you're staring at your fucking phone, like your brain can't shut off like it's supposed to.
Right. Totally.
And then the other side of that is like, then waking up with the sun, and like watching the sunrise, and like your body starts to fall into that circadian rhythm.
Right.
I'm sold on these, dude.
They're game changers. If you did nothing else other than, you didn't have to change your diet or your bedtime, but if you put those suckers on when the sun went down and just went about your day, your numbers would improve. I'm releasing a podcast with Matt Maruka from Raw Optics Monday. And
name of your podcast again?
Optimal Performance.
Optimal Performance.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously it'll be in the show notes, but I like to revisit it throughout the show because, people will be like, fuck, what was the name of that again?
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is one tool that you can use to get deeper sleep, which you need in order to build muscle. You can increase your REM sleep, which is better dreams, converting short-term memory to long-term memory. Your brain gets scrubbed each night of calcification. And so you're literally cleaning your brain. But what happens is if you're not suppressing that blue light, and you're looking at TVs or screens or whatever, even just the lights in your house, there's actually photoreceptors on our skin as well. So if you're walking around shirtless after dark, your skin is actually picking up that LED light.
Thinking the sun's up. Whoa.
Right.
So if you're going to do something blasphemous, like watch a movie, you'll throw these on?
Oh, I wear those every single night.
Okay.
Yeah, I wear them every night. They're godsend. I mean,
I'm in. I'll be buying those tonight.
They work insanely well.
Is there any model, or do they have like, how like UV blocks, there's different percentages and shit like that? Like, what would you recommend to people that are just know nothing about this and are like, hey, you know what? I want to try that.
I would just get the nighttime lenses.
Okay.
Just get these amber colored lenses and just start wearing them in the evening time. Literally, like when the sun goes down, those go on, and it will reestablish a healthy circadian rhythm.
Fuck, I might do that for my kids too.
Yeah, I have I have glasses for my kids as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are your kids again?
10 and 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they even got the Eye of Ra on the package or on the case. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So, you could go full on and like switch out light bulbs in your house so that you're going to red light. You could put red light bulbs in your house instead of LED lights. Turning the lights down, lighting candles. That's taking it pretty far. But what you're doing is you're biohacking your circadian rhythm. You're biohacking your sleep. You're making you're allowing your body to create endogenous, which just means in your body, melatonin. A lot of people have tried melatonin and they're like, I love it. It helps. I get knocked out. I go to sleep. I wake up. I'm a little groggy, kind of, but it works really well for me. Well, the fact is that you're actually circumventing your own production of melatonin. So,
I see.
So if you're taking melatonin at night to go to sleep, then your body's like, oh, we don't need to make it. And that's bad news because then you're going to have to take more and more and more. And people are basically overdosing on melatonin. And that's a slippery slope. So you got to find some other ways. Again, with sleep, biohacking for sleep can look a lot of different ways too. Eating, not eating 3 hours before you go to bed. Weighted blankets.
I'm such a fat piece of shit, dude.
You snack late.
I don't snack on bullshit, but I do snack very, very late.
Like beef jerky at 11:30,
or like, dude, an apple with like 100% natural almond butter. And dude, I'll eat that like at 11 p.m. in bed. It's just and here's the thing, it's like, oh, dude, it's an apple and it's almond butter. That has to be good for you. Not when you eat fucking 3/4 of the can of almond butter.
That's a problem. That's a problem. But the thing is, dude, like you're burning so many calories throughout the day. Like doing projects.
Yeah.
You're using your brain. You know, there's a caloric, output by using your brain. You're rolling every night. Like,
well, one thing I've noticed, it's like, to use that as an excuse when I'm training full time, like it's legit, right? Because dude, I'm fucking putting hours and hours in working out, CrossFit, jiu-jitsu. But the gym build, I've noticed, like I haven't changed my habits that much. And sure, that's taxing in its own way, but it's not. I've actually kind of dialed it back off of output in the gym. And I'm like, dude, I feel like you're starting to become a fat piece of shit,
Really?
because I'm not sure. I'm like laying flooring and painting and sanding, but that's not like doing fucking Metcons.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like once you live a certain lifestyle long enough, like the last couple of years, I felt like I've got really dialed in with my nutrition and my workout routine and stuff. And then when you change one aspect of it, you have to change everything else too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I just keep telling myself, it's like, you got a couple more weeks on the build and then you're back to being a beast. So who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that's a really good point. Like you have to allow yourself some room for some of that, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in build, focus, execute mode. And that takes a different type of effort, right?
Yeah.
It takes a different type of brain power. Your hands and knees on your kneecap
Yeah.
all day.
And bro, like it's, even though I'm not like sweating, I don't have sore muscles, it's a harder day for me.
Sure.
And just because it's a different way of like, there's also stress attached to it too. Whereas like, I don't feel like I get stress from just regular training just because I'm used to it.
Right. Right.
Obviously you are introducing stress, but it's not emotional stress. It's just physical stress.
Yeah.
Dude, the gym has been a lot of emotional stress too.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you heard 3 weeks ago or something, the county's like, you have to shut your gym down. And so we're dealing with that. And then that was just like a black cloud following us around. Cause it's like, dude, we've dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally. Last year we had the best year of our life. And we didn't really keep a dime. We just reinvested it back into the gym. And it's like, fuck, dude, you just had the best year of your life. You reinvested it all back into your business. And now they're saying it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And we're working through that. It's very promising. But there was a couple weeks when it's just like, man, it was just fucking stress on top of stress on top of stress.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, dude, this is life though. I have to keep reminding myself, like, there is no path you can take. I don't care who the fuck you are or how successful you are, or how good your relationships are. There isn't a path that's not going to have some type of ebb and flow to it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience when I was opening the float tank centers because the county didn't know how to categorize it. And so they were suggesting that we put like life preservers in the float tank rooms because they were considering it a pool.
Jesus.
So you can't operate unless you have like pool rules posted.
Fuck, bro. Oh, no lifeguard on duty.
For real.
Like, bro, part of me wants to just completely go crazy, Anderson, and go ballistic right now. But I do have to say, being true and authentic and keeping that spirit with my listeners, like, man, the county's been cool this time.
That's good.
And like, I've had nightmare fucking encounters with them over the years, whereas like, I'm ready to go postal. I'm ready to get a fucking bulldozer and weld fucking armor on it. They've been cool this time.
That's good.
And, I don't know if it's, I think there's several things at work. I think that they do not want to have a fight with me. I think that's a legitimate thing. And they told me that straight up, like, Greg, we don't want this big fucking, like, an issue that's going out on your podcast and on social media. Like, we're not interested in that. And I'm not saying that like they're afraid of me. I honestly think like all parties involved are just like, let's just solve this in the easiest manner possible.
That's great.
And for me, dude, that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times dealing with the government, they're not solution oriented. They are just simply, they open up their manual to page 26 and it's like, well, since there's a body of water inside of your facility, the only thing that it falls under is a pool recreation facility. And it's like,
Yeah.
Do you see a diving board, motherfucker?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, dude?
Come on, guys.
But a lot of times the government has the inability to think outside of the box.
Right.
I have guys that are thinking outside of the box. But the cool thing about it is you got to work your way up the chain of command. And I learned this firsthand over the last couple months. When you walk into city planning and the lady that greets you at the front desk, and this isn't a dig on her, she's paid hourly and this is just her 9 to 5. She doesn't hold the authority to actually bring solutions to the table.
Right.
So it was kind of a process sifting through, like, who are the people that I literally need to plan a meeting with and sit down across the table with and look them in the eyes and say, hey, what's up with this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, one of the guys that I ended up doing this with enjoys jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Thank
and it's
goodness.
like, hey, dude, jiu-jitsu. And the cool thing is we're on opposite ends of the political spectrum too, right? And it was cool to see, like, man, jiu-jitsu unifies people.
Yeah.
Because I'm known. That's what it's like. I'm known as a right-wing wacko, you know? And I don't feel like that. Like, I lean conservative. But just because I've been so vocal about all the fucking bullshit over the last couple of years, the vaccines and the lockdowns and the masks, and it's like, that really shouldn't have anything to do with your political affiliation, but unfortunately it does in today's world.
Well, and you could be a little right of center and reasonable and thoughtful, and the left gets farther and farther and farther left. I mean,
bro.
That's the reality of it. Is, you know, if you are moderate, you're not moderate anymore. Especially in the state of Washington, you know, the left is getting lefter.
It's nuts, man.
It is weird. It is weird.
So yeah, like seeing all of the stresses from day-to-day life over the last couple months, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So instead of like trying to change everything about my routine and my diet and my workouts and my saunas and stuff, I'm just kind of giving myself a pass.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just, you only have so many hours in the day and you only have so much energy to give. And I'm like, this is my normal things I prioritize are going on the back burner. But the reason I feel safe doing that is because I know that, say, June 1st, I can be like, all right, motherfucker, by fucking July 15th, you need to be shredded again. So this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I've had that discipline for long enough that I know if I give myself a pass for a little while, I'll get back on the horse.
Yeah. Well, you've established routines and habits, and you know what works for you, right? You know how to get into shredded mode. You know how to get into work mode or problem solving mode. And that's an important skill for everybody to develop.
For sure.
I don't care what you do for work. I don't care if you have kids or not. The fact is that at the heart, we each of us have an imperative to figure out what works best for us.
Mm-hmm.
And at the heart of what I do as a coach, as a podcaster, as a self-proclaimed biohacker, is I know what works for me. And I know that there are times where it's time to push real hard, and I know when to hold them,
For sure.
I'm done with 75 hard in a week. So
okay.
I'm done on Thursday.
Almost there. Dude.
I'm almost there. And it has taught me a ton of lessons. I know that you've talked about it quite a lot and you're friends with Andy. Like I've learned how hard I can push, and I know that the new habits that I've established, what I've really sort of dialed in even more is like my recovery, right?
Yeah.
So like the cold plunge in the backyard, the sauna, like those are all biohacking techniques so that you know what works for you. You know that when you talk yourself into getting in the ice barrel again, another time every morning, you know that you're building up resilience. You're committing to yourself, and it works for you. You get the benefits of it. And the cool part is that there are so many more tools like that most people have just never heard of that might make a huge difference for you. Like take nutrition, right? Like you may do a lot better. Anybody, if you're listening, you may do a lot better on carnivore. You may want to try it. You may want to experiment with just eating ribeyes for a month and see how that goes.
It doesn't suck.
It's friggin' awesome.
I'll tell you what, like when I'm on carnivore, I love that you said ribeye because it's the best cut of meat when you're on carnivore.
Oh yeah.
Because your body craves the fats.
Yeah.
And it's like all the fat trimmings that you normally cut off and put to the side of the plate, man, that's the highlight of your dinner right there.
For sure.
And again, like, dude, like carnivore for me, I've noticed, and that's why I did the steak and apples, because I'm like, okay, if I'm eating carnivore, but I add in just a little fruit, it's a game changer for me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because for people that aren't experimenting with their own nutrition or their own performance or their own body, they see someone on the internet. And I was saying like, hey, like, dude, I've been eating steak and apples and I feel fucking good. I'm performing well and I'm fucking shredded right now. If you look good and you feel good, those are kind of the metrics that I use to measure if something is good for me or not. Right. And I got all these messages, and it's because people always are looking to be told what to do. Right. And they're like, where did you hear about the steak and apples diet? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, is there a book on it that I can read? I said, it would be one page. It would say, eat steak and apples. And then people can't believe, like, how many ounces of meat are you eating? How many apples are you allowed? How many carbohydrates are allowed? How many blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
All of these questions coming in. And I'm not even knocking these people, because these people are looking for things that are going to add value to their life. They see a guy online that's in good shape, that's eating this. They want to know more, right? But I also believe sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think there's a guy out there that's obese that eats meat and fruit.
There isn't.
Like, that fucking guy, dude, look at him. He's 400 pounds of fucking chewed bubble gum. And it's because he eats 3 bags of grapes every night. Yeah. Like, that guy doesn't exist. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, and then also for me, you gotta, when you start to jump into these things, you kind of have to know yourself too. Yeah. Like, dude, I've never been one of those guys that can weigh foods or measure things in a cup.
Yeah, me neither.
It's just not me.
Yeah.
I have discipline, but I don't have a lot of patience. Mm-hmm. And so everybody has to figure out like your strengths and your weaknesses and then build a path off of that.
I would suggest that people, so this idea of experimenting, right? Try new stuff, because here's the thing. You need different things now than you needed a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. You're in a different place mentally. You're in a different place physically. The seasons are changing. There's new allergens and pollens in the air. You know, you're gearing up for XYZ. You know, what your brain needs, what your body needs is different today than it was a year ago. And if you're not experimenting with new bedtimes, new diets, then you're never going to know what works. And so this call to action, which is to just experiment, shake things up, try new things, try intermittent fasting, see how that goes. Just skip breakfast for a week and just see how you feel. You know, endure the sort of whatever discomfort or like, you know, hungry feelings that you get at 11 o'clock in the morning to like see if this makes a huge difference, because you will get signals, right? Mm-hmm. You'll get signals from your brain and your body like, oh, we like this. I feel light. I feel focused. I feel good. I'm not going for another muffin, you know, like that's super important.
Dude, you start to learn, for me, fasting taught me more about discipline than anything, because I've done some pretty substantial fasts, and it's like the American way of life is like, dude, we are plugged full of food 24/7.
Right.
And if you miss lunch, people are like, dude, I didn't get lunch today.
Yeah.
And it's like this big deal.
Right.
And then once you realize, oh, I can go 5 days and not have a bite of food and feel completely fine.
Right.
It's like, oh, dude, everything that I thought I knew, it's just been fucking programmed into me.
Yeah.
It's not reality.
Yeah.
5 days with no food. You'll feel hungry on day 1. And then the next 4 days, you're like, I'm actually completely fine.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was created by the guy who created wheat flakes. Are you familiar with this story?
I've heard that
Kellogg.
Yeah, Kellogg. The wheat flakes, or no. I've heard about corn flakes.
We're talking about the same thing.
Story about it was just meant to fucking like, tell the story again, because I'm going to fuck it up.
So breakfast is the most important meal of the day was created by a PR firm that wanted to place more import on eating cereal, I'm almost sure it was wheat flakes or bran flakes. And the guy who created Kellogg's flakes, created that food to keep men from masturbating. Is that ringing a bell? You know it now?
Yeah.
Like, and this is true. You can look this up. That food was designed to be bland and flavorless to not turn men on and want and urge them to masturbate.
Wasn't it something to do with the prison system too?
Oh, maybe.
I think that's part of it. It's kind of ringing a bell in the back of my brain.
Prison population to keep them subdued.
Yeah, to keep the like.
And I've said that. I've heard it 1,000 times. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You gotta have it. It's like no. Wait. When you look back, that's where that came from. It's like, oh, well, then that's bullshit. Okay. Apparently, it's not the most important meal of the day. Apparently,
so much of what we were told, is bullshit.
Right.
But it's also freeing once you realize that.
Yeah, it is. You know? It's a mind fuck a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Dude, one of the most interesting things, as I'm sitting here listening to you talk about these different things that we're calling biohacking, I feel like really instead of looking at it as biohacking, it's almost just basically like returning to nature.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I get up and I see the sun, and then I walk on the earth and I ground, and then I have to go hunt and get food. And it's like the human experience 5,000 years ago was doing all these things.
Absolutely.
And as technology increased as humanity progressed, we started to lose touch with so many little things and so many little behaviors and like methodologies that were just part of day-to-day life.
Right.
And now we're figuring out how to kind of get back there.
Absolutely right. You've nailed it. Ayurveda, Chinese herbalism, grounding, earthing, cold therapy, sauna. These are all primordial practices that are the reasons why we're alive today, because our ancestors did these things.
And they didn't do them as part of a hack. Right. They did it because it was fucking cold outside.
Right.
Or it was fucking hot outside.
Right.
And just the human experience was dealing with temperatures, dealing with fucking starvation, dealing with dehydration, like all that stuff.
And so this idea of putting blue blocking glasses on at night to protect yourself from light that's going to make you feel awake, well, that's because we didn't have artificial light, because we were sitting around the fire talking shit and telling stories about the day and fellowship and hanging out around a fire. We didn't have artificial light. I'm going to tell you about this device that I'm wearing because this is kind of a cool story. So this is called the Apollo Neuro, and what this thing is doing right now, it looks like a transponder, like I'm on house arrest.
Yeah.
And what it is it's vibrating right now. So this vibration, this bracelet that I'm wearing on my wrist right now is vibrating. And what this does is you can choose a setting of different vibrations at different intensities to elicit a physiological response. So there's a setting for, I'm on the social setting right now.
Okay.
And it's vibrating, it's kind of pulsating, and it's kind of coming out. There's calm, recover, wind down.
Do you notice
sleep.
it? Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I've gotten used to it now, so I didn't.
It's not like it distracts you, but
not anymore. Yeah. I mean, at first it did, and I wasn't even tracking it until I started to think about it. But what the science shows around this is this. Here, you want to try it? Try that thing on. So it's in the social mode. So what that thing is it's sending a vibration onto your wrist that's going to give you some sort of response. And I did a podcast with Dr. Dave, I forget his last name. What they found was frequency and vibration through music gives us a sort of response, right?
100% it does.
Drums, like doon, 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 doon. Like you can feel the drums. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in your gut, right? And you get a sort of response. So they started studying music, and they started studying frequency and wavelength and repetition of these sort of vibratory states that elicit a response. The science on this shows that if you can tinker with these different types of vibrations, you can put it on your wrist, on your ankle, you can actually wear like a pendant and put it on your chest, is that it will change your state. And I'll tell you, I was very skeptical of that. Believe it or not, I'm a skeptic. I'm talking about astral projection and all this weird wacky
Well, bro,
shit.
you should be. You got to be.
You have to be.
Because let's be honest. We talk about all this stuff and you're telling the audience about things that you found that have worked. But for everything that you have that works, there's 10 million products out there that are fucking bullshit too.
Right. So, and I'll tell you, and I'll name them by name. There was a device that I don't even know what they're doing now. It's called the Happy, HAPBEE, and it was like a necklace that you could wear. It looked like this futuristic thing, and it did the same thing.
Not a happy sock.
Not a happy sock.
Okay, that's just something that the Rangers had in regiment back in the day, in the bottom of their sleeping bag.
Very happy. Oh, want the same sock?
Yeah, bro, I'm in Afghanistan. What do you want me to do?
Different kind of happy. Different, not a sock.
Yeah.
It was a device that aimed to do the same thing, and it didn't work. And I don't know what they're doing now, and I don't like to talk bad about them, but I tried it and I didn't feel anything. And I use it a lot. I use it for meditation. I use it for focus. And so when I saw this, I was skeptical, and then I started to use it for podcasting and for focusing, and I used it to like calm down and recover.
So they have a sleep setting too, I'm assuming?
Got a sleep setting. Yeah, the settings that they have on this device, you're right. Right now it's currently on social. So there's energy, social, focus, recover, calm, unwind, and fall asleep.
Okay.
You can actually sleep with it on.
Interesting.
And it helps you relax. It helps you get deeper sleep while you're sleeping. But what it is it is taken from our sort of archaic understanding that vibration, pulsation, music, sound, Gregorian chant has an impact on us.
Fuck yes, it does, dude. I actually have to show you something now because this is a perfect opportunity to show you like what I gained from going to the jungle and doing ayahuasca.
Nice.
I have to fucking so dude, are you good to hold the fort down and talk about this product for about 25 seconds?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll go grab it real quick.
So this is just a really good example of old world knowledge that's updated now for us to use and sort of repackaged in technologies that, because you're not going to sit around and drum for yourself or drum for your buddy to get into a relaxed state. You're not going to drum, to get focused or to go to sleep, but you can wear this Apollo device and effectively get the same effect. The same thing with cold plunges, etc. Same thing with how we deal with light. The same thing with how, red light therapy, which I'll get into in a second, is massively beneficial. But it's these old ideas that are updated now and encapsulated in these technologies that are wildly effective. What did you just pull out? What is that?
It's called the Shruti box. You ever heard of the Shruti box?
No.
So the Shruti box is an Indian instrument, and this temple that we would go to, we went to this temple for everything. And one of the workshops was transcendental meditation. A lot of different things. We did all kinds of different like Qigong, different meditation modalities. And then we did the ayahuasca there as well, right? So this thing, they would play at ceremony. And this thing touched me emotionally. This thing had more impact on me than the ayahuasca did.
Oh, wow.
So I had it, I bought one and I had it fucking inscribed ayahuasca 2023 power. Because I just felt powerful, right? Just like you were saying, that thing, vibration and frequency affects you differently. This thing is tuned to 432 hertz.
Perfect. Yes.
And bro, listen to this thing.
Yes.
All right. And this is what they would do. They would play these, and I'll put the mic close so people can hear it. And then they'd ohm to it. And you can match your ohm to 432 by matching it to the suitcase. Isn't that a fucking trip, bro?
That's great.
And So yeah, people listening, I don't know if you think I'm fucking nuts, but I'm telling you, I can feel the vibrations from this thing
Yeah.
go into my heart and go into my brain.
Can you explain to everybody what the significance of 432?
I don't know. So you're probably better at it than I am, because I know different hertz affect your body differently. Some are healing hertz. Some are like certain frequencies help you fall asleep. I don't know what 432 is, because you can actually get Shruti boxes in different hertz. And I told the shaman down there, I said, I need the same Shruti box you have. He goes, oh, mine's 432.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's what I need.
Yes. Yeah. 430. The 432 is the Earth. It's the planet. That's
right. Yeah. So we're all. It makes you feel connected.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's, they make tuning forks at 432. You can go onto YouTube and do a search for 432 and just get a ton of music that's like basically built on that. That's cool, dude.
Isn't that fucking rad?
That's really great.
And so I like, David Price was the guy that was like, he wasn't like the head shaman for the ayahuasca. There's a different guy that did that, but he was like the guru that led all the workshops. And man, he'd pull that thing out, and bro, like some of the people that were down there with us had a lot of trauma to deal with, because that's why they're going, right? And this one lady that I connected with right away, man, she lost her adult daughter, like, and I'm not going to get into all of her details because I'm not going to air her dirty laundry out, but fucking like, she was so fucking broken, as any of us would be if we lost a child, right? And she's like, I don't want to go on anymore. That's why I'm here, because I need to understand if the right answer is just to let go and move on, or if I'm supposed to work through this. And it's like, fuck, dude, that's heavy, right? And she'd start crying, and David would break that out and fucking start pumping it.
In the middle of ceremony?
No, leading into ceremony. But this wasn't ayahuasca ceremonies. This was other like meditation and stuff. Wow. And she would start to break down. He'd break that out and start playing. And bro, you could feel like an interconnectedness between us. And I could feel her emotions coming out of her. And we're not on drugs, dude. This isn't ayahuasca. This is on the other days. I could feel myself like taking her emotions on. And then, bro, like, you want to talk about fucking crazy shit, astral projecting? He started pumping this, and he started like doing this chant, matching the frequencies, and this vortex of wind like was just went, and it was calm and nice out. And like, as he's doing this, it's like, and it's circling the temple, right? And we're all in this meditative state. And then afterwards, he's like, okay, we like bring back everybody. And he's like, does anyone want to talk about anything? Or does anyone want to bring anything up or have questions about what just happened? And no one says anything. And I'm like, yeah, I have to. Like, is anyone going to acknowledge the fucking tornado that happened as you were doing that? And David looks at me and kind of smirks, and he goes, I'm really glad you noticed that. Yeah. He goes, sometimes people notice it, sometimes people don't. But it's very common. He goes, because the jungle's in tune with this frequency as well. Right. And when we're all putting this energy into it, the jungle feels it and the winds whip up, and we're all interconnected. He goes, that's very normal. But he goes, I'm very, very excited that you noticed that. I said, how could you not notice it? And then it's normal to you guys, you know, like that's not normal to me that we chant with a magical suitcase and it brings in a fucking vortex of wind, but it did, bro.
Oh man.
You know, it's fascinating. And that's why I said, I don't know, going back to assuming people listen to your podcasts, like, I did a whole episode on that experience. Right. And, I'm not assuming you heard it. So I'll just say, like, for me, the drug itself, I really liked it. It was very fun. It opened my heart. It expanded my way of thinking. But shit like that is what made me feel like this connectedness. Yeah. There's like, oh, there's some more shit going on than I'm aware of.
Yeah.
You know?
It's these tools, these technologies, and you know, ayahuasca itself is considered a technology that is used to help or heal or open or treat, and that's that's such a gift. And we overlook it because we, especially in the West, have been sold a false bill of goods that in order to heal ourselves or to open up or to sleep or to get a hard on, that we need petroleum-based pharmaceuticals to help our lives.
Yeah.
And all of that can really point back to what's called the Flexner Report in 1910 that was funded by the Rockefellers, which took the American Medical Association. They put a bunch of people together and they're basically like, you know what? Homeopathic medicine is bullshit. Energy medicine is bullshit. We're going to really focus on these petroleum-based solutions for healing, for stress, for anxiety, for herpes, for, we are still operating from that report.
And what's nuts is, like, not only did they like create this new thing, this new idea of how to treat fucking sicknesses, but it became so normal that if you heard someone say like, hey, you know what? I actually am going to use sound therapy and I'm going to sit by the river and meditate. They're the crazy one.
Right.
You know? No, take this fucking pill. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I feel like there's kind of a cultural and information revolution happening right now.
Yes.
Where people are realizing like, oh, we kind of fucked up.
Yes.
Let's get back to the roots. And I've said it on the show a lot, man. Western medicine has its place.
For sure it does.
And I'm a proponent of it. I've fucking had surgery. Like my nose got reconstructed after being broken 5 times fighting. Like I like to have the option of Western medicine when I need it. But that's for like, what I feel like is it's for trauma related injuries.
Exactly.
As opposed to, hey, take this to help this. Before you know it, then bro, and like I said earlier, I'm guilty of watching TV at night, right? There are advertisements out now that are like, if you're taking this pill and experience this side effect, then take this pill to combat that side effect.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, man. Like, how far down that fucking hole are people willing to go?
Well, something like with the average American or the average adult American or something is on like 5. That's not true. I don't want to misrepresent it, but most people that we know are on some sort of prescription drug, right?
Yep.
Just about everybody. And again, there's a time and there's a place and there's a use for Western medicine. And also the third leading cause of death. Again, I hope it's the third. And I don't want to misrepresent this. There's this thing called iatrogenocide. Iatrogenic. It means killed by doctors. Means like somebody fucked up in surgery and snipped an artery. Somebody gave you a medicine that you had a bad reaction to. You were in the hospital for because you tested positive for the coof and they intubated you and it killed you ultimately.
Yep.
Like,
bro, I lost one of my best friends to a botched surgery a couple years ago. Dude, another thing, my boy, Zach, who's like a son to me, he broke his arm, right? And the doctor wrote him a prescription, and his mom, who's like one of the closest people on planet Earth to me, she takes it to a pharmacy and the pharmacist looks at it and goes, I can't fill this prescription. And like kind of almost like threw it back at her. Right. And she's like, the fuck, dude, why? And he's like, I'm not going to get into it. Like he wouldn't fucking like, he's like, I'm not willing to fill that prescription. So then she went to another pharmacy. This is a fucking true story. This is some of the closest, this is like my family, right? She goes to another pharmacy and he goes, I can't fill this, unfortunately.
Huh.
And she's just like, what the fuck is going on, dude? So then third pharmacy, the pharmacist is like this 75-year-old man, doesn't give a fuck, right? And he looks at it and he goes, looks like someone's trying to kill your boy. Like, just like, he goes, if I fill this prescription, your son will be dead before morning. And he's like, the doctor fucked up, and that's a fatal dosage.
Oh my God.
And she's like, what the fuck, dude? And so then she's like, well, why are these other pharmacists not saying this? I guess, and I don't know how this system works. So if you're listening and you do, and I'm butchering it, like, oh, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But it was something of the effect that the relationship between doctors prescribing and pharmacies issuing, if there's any like red flags or if there's any issues between that, I guess it throws a big monkey wrench in it, and people just would rather go hands off than deal with it.
Not comment
because
at all.
if you're the pharmacy that like goes after a doctor or something, I guess like it can be a red flag for your pharmacy or something like that, right?
Whoa.
So instead of doing the right thing, they're just like, you know what? We have the right to refuse service, and we're just choosing to not fulfill this prescription. And it's like, fuck, man. And here's the thing, dude. Luckily, I teach jujitsu. So if I fuck something up, it doesn't matter, right? As a cop and as a soldier, stakes were a lot higher. If I fucked things up as a cop, it did have the potential to have a fucking drastic side effect or life-altering effect. But a doctor, man, if you fuck up once.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why you have to have these checks and balances in place. And, one of my best friends is a doctor. I've talked to him about it. It's like, hey, I write a prescription and then like my partner has to check it or whatever it is, right? Because that shit happens,
That's a crazy story.
It's fucking nuts, man.
Oh,
but not
God.
only did the doctor make a mistake, but then the system was afraid to correct it because they don't want to ruffle any feathers. It's like, and a fucking child is on the line here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's those systems. It's the reimbursement. It's the prescription fills. It's the current paradigm. It's the current medical Rockefeller medicine paradigm that is causing so many problems for so many people.
Well, and I can tell you another thing that they're fucking culpable in is the massive homelessness fucking epidemic. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people, because as a cop, I interact with a lot of those people. And the crazy thing is, it's like there's a percentage, because let's unpack this and be very clear of what the homeless epidemic is. It's not homelessness. Years as a patrol officer, I never met the guy that's like, oh, dude, I worked at Boeing and then I got laid off and I couldn't afford my house. So here I am under a bridge in Seattle. That fucking person doesn't exist. It's an addiction epidemic.
Yeah.
They're all addicted. But I have heard plenty of stories. It's like, dude, my husband's an engineer and I was raising a family of 3 kids and I hurt my back and I got on they prescribed me this.
Yeah.
And then when my prescription ran out, like I couldn't stop and I turned to street drugs. And now you're sleeping in the fucking ditch in some tent.
Yeah.
Like willing to suck dick for your next fix. It's like, that's a real thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that the addiction coupled with mental illness and that sort of self-perpetuating cycle. It's like I'm trying to medicate because I have this injury and I got on the pills and the pills got too expensive. So I went to, different types of opiates and then I got depressed and it's just like this flywheel that just continues and continues and continues. And what I believe is if you're dealing with something, an injury, a mental health issue, try everything else first. Try skipping breakfast, right? Try a homeopathic, sublingual arnica for injuries or bruises. Try, even before you turn to ibuprofen and aspirin, there are 1,000 anti-inflammatories that are natural, that are CBDs and turmeric and, try all that stuff first. And the thing is that we don't know about them. Like most people don't know a Chinese herbalist. They don't know an Ayurvedic practitioner. Most people don't know a naturopathic doctor.
And most people don't look at Advil and think that's poison.
Right.
They think, oh, Advil's good for when my knees are aching.
Right.
And it's like, fuck, man. Even in the army, it's like 800 milligram Motrin. Like they give you Motrin like fucking candy.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, there's a reason your body's inflamed.
Right.
That's what we have to be figuring out.
Exactly right.
Exactly like, right. Dude, I'll tell you right now, and I hate to admit this, it's fucking frustrating to me because I live a very healthy lifestyle. But my last blood test, I'm having elevated uric acid. And so I've been fucking geeking out on what the fuck causes elevated uric acid. That's why I'm drinking, you see tart cherry juice right here, right?
Yeah.
And dude, like there's a million things that cause it. And I've been trying to figure out like what the fuck is what it is in its very foundational reason, like why am I showing an elevated uric acid? I'm wondering if it could be TRT. You know, and I don't know. Like and the thing is, anything you think about or anything you can even imagine, you Google it and it's there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it might just be because I never had any elevated uric acid during 75 hard because I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. I think it might just be like the fucking life catches up with you and then you kind of slip on some of your habits. And when you slip on your healthy habits in your 40s, your body is like, hey, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know? But one thing I read this morning is that grounding is huge.
Massive.
For dissipating uric acid. Because it's literal, and I'm going to butcher this again, but the article literally talked about how like it's an exchange of molecules, and once the whatever is holding onto the acid in your body can drop a certain molecule, then it can be excreted. And I was like, so you know what I was looking at this morning, bro? Bed grounding pads.
Yeah.
Tell me about those. Then.
Yeah. So the idea with grounding is, and there's great science that supports this, is that when you are, so we spend our lives on concrete, in rubber soled shoes, in high rise buildings, and we are literally not able to discharge the energy that stores up in our body. And when you go out onto the grass barefoot, what you're doing is you're basically releasing that stored up energy back into the earth, right? You're grounding. So like you think about the grounding rod in an outlet, right? Mm-hmm. That little dot on the bottom is connected eventually to a copper rod that's literally
driven into the ground
the ground in your basement. And so what that is, it's a release of built up energy. And you can look at like videos and studies and stuff that show they do like infrared imaging. They'll do like not x-rays, but they'll do imaging of people who are like highly stressed and then they'll go outside and stand on the grass for 40 minutes, I think was like the control. It's like 40 minutes on the grass. And all of the red inflammation that showed up in this imaging is gone, right?
Fucking fascinating, bro.
And it's not woo woo. I mean, there is a aspect of like connecting with the earth, but the reason why,
like there's a derogatory term, tree huggers,
right? Like,
oh, you want to go connect with nature, you're a faggot or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, no, it's actually just, again, like we said earlier, it's actually just how human beings lived since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
And one thing that I read, I actually just got a book, but my sister borrowed it and now it's gone. Is that for a long time, human beings, when we did start to progress with technology and invented shoes were made of animal hides.
Right.
And animal hides can still be a surface that you can ground through.
Sure.
But it was the invention of rubber soled shoes that lifted people off the ground and stopped that like electron exchange or whatever is happening on a molecular level.
Right. I mean, if you think, like the Dutch using wood shoes, or cork soled shoes, I think even gum rubber does a better, pair of wallabies with gum rubber. That does an effective job at like grounding. You can get mats, which it sounds like you're down that rabbit hole. You can get grounding mats where.
Do you have any recommendations on those? Because I realized very quickly you can spend as much or as little as you want.
Yeah.
But in this world, a lot of times you get what you pay for too.
Yeah. So I don't have one for my bed, but I have one that just stays underneath my desk so that when I'm working, I have my feet on it.
Okay.
And it's probably, 18 inches by 3 feet. And so I'll just go barefoot on that grounding mat while I'm working. And you can't really tell. You can't really tell what's going on. You don't really feel that different. But you have to be very careful to make sure that the outlet that you're plugging that grounding mat into is properly grounded. And
I see.
And there's devices that you can get that you actually plug into that ground on the on the 110 that will show whether or not it's grounded properly.
I see.
So,
Dude, some of the bed ones that I was looking at like come with like a 20-foot wire and a rod that you actually fucking drive it into the ground.
Badass. Yeah.
So I think I might look into that.
Is your bed frame metal?
No, it's wood.
Oh, that's good. That's better than metal.
Okay.
Yeah, because what the metal does is that it's conductive. So here's another thing, right? So this falls into the category of what goes around you, right? If you're surrounding yourself by these metal wires that you're suspended up on the ground, you are totally. There's a reason why you feel good when you go camping.
Yeah.
Right. There's a reason.
Or when you go to the beach.
Exactly
like,
right.
Like everybody loves the beach.
Right.
And it's like, well, why do you love the beach? Because you're getting sun and you're getting grounding.
Yeah, exactly right.
But nobody knows why they love the beach.
Right.
Everybody just knows they love the beach.
Well, I'm off work, I'm on vacation. Yeah, that's part of it. But the fact is you're barefoot on the ground. And when was the last time that you were barefoot on the ground?
Yeah.
And you can actually double down on that if you go stand at the water's edge. There's some indigenous tribal sort of practices of like rebirth and recharging right at that edge of the beach where the water comes up. So like there are some people that work with crystals and you can actually recharge crystals, especially quartz crystals, which quartz crystals are in our phones. They're in all of the electronics because they're conductive. You can actually recharge crystals, which again are in all of our technology, by slamming them on the sand where at the water's edge, because you're getting the earth, you're getting the two elements there, right? And what I would suggest is, if you can help it, spend at least, ideally go outside in the morning, do the Andrew Huberman thing by starting your day, by spending it outside, looking up into the sky, whether it's sunny or not, looking up into the sky and establishing your circadian rhythm by looking barefoot in the ground. It feels good to wake up and go piss outside, frankly. And,
Yeah.
like that's the best, right? Whether you're in boxer shorts or buck naked, just going outside and taking a piss outside and just standing there, get a little cold for 5-10 minutes, ground down. That's going to establish your circadian rhythm. It's going to ground you again, depending on what sort of bed you're on. But this is this idea. Like, yes, it's an ancient practice. Yes, we slept on the ground on animal skins. And this is this environmental aspect of biohacking as well. And this is sort of cutting edge, kind of emerging, I think, for a lot of people, is EMF. EMF exposure is a killer. So
that's why I was surprised when you said you prefer AirPods over headsets. Because don't they say those things are fucking terrible for you?
They're fucking terrible for you.
Okay. Okay.
They are. I have EMF protecting stickers around it. So it takes away 90% of the Bluetooth.
See, you're fucking...
Yeah. And I also,
way ahead of me, bro.
No, it's true. I mean,
Is the EMF stuff made of shungite? I heard that's...
I think it's silver.
Silver?
I think
okay.
that the EMF stickers, like you can get, so this is a company called WaveBlock. I have this on all my kids' iPads. I have this on my phone. I've got it on my AirPods.
And what is it? It absorbs it or just blocks it?
Dissipates it.
Okay.
Dissipates it. So when you have, the AirPods that you wear in your head are talking to each other literally through your skull.
Mm-hmm.
Not optimal. And they're also connected to your phone. So it's constantly pinging back and forth. So when you put these guys have done it right. They've studied it the most extensively, but you can put a sticker on the back of your phone. And what that sticker does is it dissipates that signal without reducing the connectivity. So it doesn't affect the actual cell phone service, but you put the sticker on the back of your phone.
What are they called again?
WaveBlock.
WaveBlock.
Yeah. So they make them for iPads and phones and AirPods. But then when you put your phone in your pocket, you put the glass facing out so that there's a protective layer between your
you
skin.
and the phone.
Right.
Okay.
So
interesting.
it comes through the glass part of your phone, but then it dissipates it outward.
Got it.
There are some companies that do claim to do absorption, and that's really hard to prove.
Yeah.
Of course I did a podcast on it, but there are effective means to dissipate, to still enjoy the things that you like to enjoy, but reduce harm.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, and yeah, that's the reality of the world we live in right now.
Right.
Is part of me wants to just throw my phone in the river and never see it again.
Of course. Yeah.
But bro, it's also a big part of my business now.
Yeah.
You know, like partnerships, pushing products, advertisements, all that stuff is real part of who I am now.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes it's like, God, it's fucking retarded. The other side of it is it beats waking up at 3 and being on patrol all day.
Yeah, man.
So it's like, hey, this is what I do right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I fully plan on building a big enough empire to buy a sailboat and completely unplug and disappear. That day's coming. Nice. But I ain't there yet. So we got to play the game a little bit. You know? Dude, I don't have my phone on me, speaking of phones. Yeah. What time do we have?
We have...
Because I know...
4:53.
Oh, we got lots of time. Yeah. Let's do this then. Let's take a quick break. And then we'll fucking be right back.
So I wanted to kind of go back to this idea. We're talking about grounding mats for your bed. That to me, that's the sort of around you idea of biohacking. And EMFs are, I think we're just at the beginning of understanding how harmful those are for us. And I want to give people actionable things that they can do that are cheap and effective. If you turn off your Wi-Fi at night, you're going to sleep better.
Oh, shit.
You don't need it from the hours of 12 to, let's say, 6, right? Maybe you're burning the, midnight oil and you're like Greg and staying up late and getting up early. That's fine. But you...
Oh, no, I just stay up late. Getting up early is not part of it.
Oh, perfect.
So you literally unplug like the box from your cable provider?
I have a lamp timer on my Wi-Fi router. So, like your grandma had where the lamp would turn on automatically with the lamp timer.
Yep.
So I bought one of those a long time ago, and now it's 11 o'clock. So occasionally I'll have to go unplug it if like we're watching a movie late or stuff. But that alone, I bet you'll be able to tell when your Wi-Fi router is. It's like when you ever get a power outage at your house and the lights aren't on and there's no electric current going to your house. Feels good, doesn't it? Oh, I feel like I'm fucking camping.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't hear the hum of the lights.
You got candles out.
Yeah.
That's interesting because there's always, like obviously the older I get, like when I was a kid, the power outages around here would last 10 days sometimes. Now this seems like they're very dialed in and it's only a day or two, but that day or two, something does feel kind of good about it.
Yeah. Your body, you can think of your body almost as like an antenna itself, right? And we could, this is aside from the sort of Hindu sort of Eastern mysticism around like what the chakras are and how they pull in energy, but in all practical purposes, the pores of your skin, your spine as an antenna, you're taking in inputs of products and smells, radio waves, electromagnetic frequencies. You're taking it into your body, you're doing something with it, and then you're emitting something else, right? And if you are mindful of the invisible sort of frequencies that are around you that you just are around all the time, that feeling where it's like, man, that feels really good to have the power outage, not only because it's fun and you're lighting candles, but your Wi-Fi router's off and your circuit breaker's off, so there's not anything running through your house. So what I would suggest is go spend the $12 to go get an automatic like lamp timer, plug your Wi-Fi router into that and set it for a reasonable amount of time in the middle of the night when you're not using the internet anyway, and just watch how your sleep changes. Here's another thing. Throw away your microwave. Microwaves, even when they're not in use, emit they're the number one emitter of electromagnetic frequencies inside your home.
Fuck,
more than your TV, more than your washer and dryer, even if it's smart, it's got Bluetooth, more than anything else. Even if your microwave is not being used, you can actually go get an EMF tester
and just starts crackling next to it.
It redlines as soon as you get up close to it. It does dissipate the further away you move from it. But if you're cooking food and standing there watching your popcorn pop and you're 2 feet away from your microwave,
you're fucked.
You are cooking yourself.
I knew it just feels off, right?
Right.
Because in this world, there's no free lunch.
That's right.
Right. Like if I wanted to cook food 1,000 years ago, I had to rub 2 sticks together until I got a flame and cook something over that open flame.
Right.
And now it's just like beep.
Yeah.
One button, because the microwave has the plus 30 seconds button.
Yeah.
You know, just beep, my food's cooked. It's like, I don't know why this feels off, but it feels off.
Yeah, you're cheating.
Now I know.
Yeah, you're cheating.
Yeah.
You're cooking your food artificially through these wavelengths. And here's another thing that you can do too. There are now a class of products, of garments that you can wear that are EMF protecting. There's a company called Lambs that makes underwear and hats and beanies and shirts that are woven with silver that block EMF exposure. So
I'm sure they're super affordable, huh?
they're less than you'd think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're actually not bad. There are some like really nice looking
It's not as
stuff.
much as an Arc'teryx jacket.
No, yeah. You want to shield yourself from rain, get the Patagucci.
Yeah.
If you want to shield your balls from EMF exposure, get the Lambs. So they did a test, right? If you put an egg in a microwave and turn it on, the egg explodes.
Mm-hmm.
They wrapped this egg in these EMF protecting underwear and put it in there, and the egg didn't cook.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's legit.
Like blocks all of the EMFs that are coming into that egg that would cook it. So like if I'm traveling, I'll wear like those underwear. I didn't buy the shirt and the hat and stuff, but you can deck yourself out head to toe in EMF protection. But these sorts of things, right? I'm going to keep throwing out a couple of these like hidden, fucking scary shit.
Well, no, here's the thing, man. Like everybody is just starting to look at these different things and understanding what the potential side effects are, right? So if you can get ahead of the curve on this stuff, like in 20 years, it's like, oh, everybody has fucking tumors in their balls, and you're like, not me, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna spend the money to protect it now. Regarding the cell phones thing, right? Never put your cell phone up to your ear, right? If you can, every inch away from your ear that you can talk on the phone, you're doing yourself a favor. So the acceptable amount of electromagnetic radiation that they allowed for cell phones is based on a study from the 80s. And the study from the 80s...
which I'm from the 80s, and I can confirm we did not have cell phones.
Loose.
Yeah.
No, yeah, right. Maybe it's not the 80s. Well, fuck, now I'm second guessing it. The original acceptable amount of electromagnetic frequency output from a cell phone, must not have been the 80s. Well, but they had the Zach Morris phone.
That's true.
The 90s.
Yeah, the
big one.
Yeah.
The study was based on basically not a smartphone, and it was 6 inches away. So the cell phones that we use, the electromagnetic frequencies that are emitting from this, that are cooking your brain and cooking your balls every time you put it in your pocket, if you don't have these sort of protections, is like, exponentially more harmful than what they say is acceptable. So,
and also what they say,
right?
There's a good chance that they are a bunch of fucking retards.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, man. I'm not one of those people that every single last thing is a big fucking conspiracy. But a lot of people that are in fields where we feel like we should be able to have inherent trust in people, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be taking your advice?
Yeah.
And then once you have that experience 2, 3, 10, 20 times, you realize, man, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're a fucking mechanic, you're a doctor, or you're a jiu-jitsu instructor.
Right.
There's people that are great at it, and there's people that are absolute fucking useless.
Right.
There's
negligence, and then there's like nefarious, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you follow McDojo, right?
Bro.
I don't know what those dudes are doing. Maybe they're trying to make money by teaching you how to do, kill somebody with a pressure point finger to the chest.
The death touch or whatever. What I don't understand is like, I honestly think some of those people, they're like cult leaders, right?
Yeah.
And they get this fucking following of people that have bought off on their bullshit.
Crazy.
And so I wonder if some of them think that it's real themselves, because every once in a while you'll get one where it's like a guy's like, oh, I'll fucking fight you then. And the guy's like, oh, I'm going to hit you with my dim mock death touch. And the dude just like fucking hits him with a fucking right cross and crumples him.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, dude.
Yeah.
I've always said, man, like throughout fucking history, warfare, people fighting each other. Like, obviously, these techniques are going to come to light if you can really kill someone with one fucking poke somewhere in his body.
Yeah.
But more importantly than that, like, bro, you can make millions and millions of dollars being a high level fighter now.
Yeah.
So if you could touch Conor McGregor on his right shoulder and put him out,
Yeah.
bro, you can make $50 million.
Yeah.
Where are you at, motherfuckers?
Yeah, right.
Go touch Conor McGregor on his shoulder and put him to sleep.
Yeah.
You know? There was a video of a guy trying to do that to Stephan Bonner, who, I don't know if you're familiar with Steph.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's, he just passed last year, which is crazy. But he was one of the original guys on The Ultimate Fighter, and him and Forrest Griffin basically made the UFC. And there's a video on YouTube of one of those dim mock death touch guys trying to do it to Stephan Bonner. And he was literally just like, what are you doing? Like, zero effect, you know? And then the guy goes, oh, well, this is because he is an exceptional high level athlete.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, so you train techniques that don't work against high level athletes? I want my techniques to work against the baddest motherfuckers on planet Earth.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
I never seen that.
I train to beat up obese elderly women. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, fuck, dude.
Right. The three finger death poke works on Sally.
It works on quadriplegics only.
Yeah. Right. Like it's maybe it's negligence, maybe it's hucksters, trying to, they're just people, right? People making policy, people making products, people doing studies, the dude at Ferguson from the Oxford that calculated that 4 million people were going to die from COVID in the UK. And that's what clicked off COVID, was like computer models from this one dude in Oxford that everybody ran with. And that's literally what started the whole COVID narrative, was based on computer models. Like,
bro, if there's ever a real pandemic, we're all fucked.
We'll know.
Yeah, no.
Right?
But like, yeah, that's what I always say. Like, where are the bodies at? Why aren't people in the street, But if we ever get that, like, if the government ever says, like, lock yourself in your house, everybody's going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, it's like, even if there is something that's just fucking gnarly, that just, like the fucking Black Plague, we're going to know.
We'll know.
We'll know. And guess what? You might die too.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being a fucking human being.
Right.
Yeah.
And the healthier that you can make yourself, if you have a cabinet full of natural healing tinctures, and again, this is not woo woo. This is we know that if you take a round of antibiotics for anything, it will fuck up your gut microbiome for at least 6 months and sometimes a year or longer.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that I haven't went down the rabbit hole yet, but I want to, because I'm wondering, because anything that's wrong with your body, a lot of times can be tied back into your gut microbiome.
Right.
Do you know of a certain supplement
Yes.
or something that you would recommend to really make a robust gut microbiome?
Yes. So there are a couple of, there really are 2 or 3 that are essentials for me in my house. And we don't get sick. When we do, we use oregano oil to treat, whatever. So there are a couple of really key products. One is from a company called Bioptimizers.
Mm-hmm.
They make some of the most scientifically advanced, actually that Newtopia cognitive enhancer that we took is like a division of Bioptimizers. They make a product called
and I'm fucking buzzing.
Me too.
From that and the ketone together.
Yeah. Jamming. We just got to make sure it lasts until
Well, we only got 20 minutes left, then we got to head to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So they make a product called P3OM, and P3OM is basically what they do is they take probiotic cultures, and then they try to kill them in petri dishes. So they take all of these different types of, Lactobacillus A. fluori, all of these different crazy strains of gut bacteria that are good for your gut, and then they try to kill them in the petri dish. And the ones that survive, they make more of those, and they keep doing that.
They're the Cain Velasquez's of fucking gut bacteria.
The way that they describe them is like this is like the Green Berets of gut bacteria.
They could have used the term Army Ranger, but
these are the Army
semantics.
Rangers. These are the Army Rangers of gut bacteria. And
do they have to stay refrigerated?
They don't.
They don't? Okay.
No. So they've gone through all of this stuff. They try to kill them and try to kill them and try to kill them, and then only the strongest survive, and that's what they make the product from. It's called P3OM. That you could eat a whole fucking pizza and expect to just feel like shit for a couple of days and have a handful of these and you'll be fine.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy the way that they work. Like I'll take this if I haven't had a drink in a while because I'm doing 75 hard. But if I'm going to be like having a couple of beers, or if I'm going to, have a cheat day and eat some pizza, I'm bringing those with me. I'm taking those.
Okay.
So that's it's good if you feel like you're starting to get some indigestion, but it's also good to take sort of like as a daily supplement. The other one, and this one is huge. We just covered this in a recent podcast, is a product called Ion, ION. And Ion was created with Dr. Zach Bush. Dr. Zach Bush.
I know that name. Who is this? Who is he?
He's big on the podcasts. He's big on regenerative farming.
Okay.
He understands this complex issue that we have with our soil quality now across the world. The topsoil used to be 4 feet of dense nutrients everywhere in the world, and now it's like 2 inches.
Yeah, and there's only so many harvests left in our current method of agriculture.
Right. All the monocropping and the use of glyphosate and all these estrogenic chemicals that they're spraying on crops has basically depleted the nutrients from all the soil. So what Ion is, it's humic and fulvic acid, which is essentially liquefied dirt. And this liquefied dirt it comes in like a jug like this, and you just squirt a little bit while you're eating, and it puts all these minerals back into your body while you're eating to help you digest, and it will help repopulate your gut. There are, you could do sauerkraut and kimchi and like fermented foods to repopulate your gut. But if anyone listening has done antibiotics or had a vaccine or had, any sort of medication, it fucks with your gut. And oftentimes you won't connect that to the fact that you're not sleeping, or that you're edgy, or that your digestion's
depressed.
off. Yeah.
Like they're finding that your gut microbiome affects your mood, your sleep,
your personality,
everything. Man.
Yeah. And
then also, like, if you don't correct it, the gut microbiome, it's almost like its own entity. It starts to make you crave more poisonous shit too.
So parasites. That's another thing that I've been geeking out on. Do you know the name David Avocado Wolf?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I got a David Avocado Wolf story that I'm not going to share on the air.
Oh, we finally found something you weren't willing to share on the air.
Oh, fuck it. I'll say it. He banged one of my jiu-jitsu students' wives.
Oh, damn it. Oh.
I think it was his ex-wife, though.
I hope so.
I think it was his ex-wife. So
I hope so.
And that's what I was told. I cannot corroborate that story. So
Jesus, this idea of parasites is a big deal. This idea that something else takes over. You've heard of the cat, the parasite that comes from cats that actually
toxoplasmosis. Bro, and when people get it, it makes men want to fight and it makes women want to fuck.
Isn't that crazy?
Let's all get toxoplasmosis.
Let's all lick our cats' butts and get toxoplasmosis. You're getting a parasite
Many people in Brazil have that. It's very common in Brazil.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They want to fight and fuck. You're like, oh, okay.
I mean, they're having fun.
Yeah.
They're having a good time. Yeah, they're a big deal. And if you have dogs, if you have cats, you have liver flukes, you have parasites. Like we all have them. And what the parasites do is they find their way into your gut, they find their way into your liver, and basically what parasites do is they take control. They talk the same thing with toxoplasmosis, where all of a sudden you've got this fucking zombie inside of you that wants to fight people, fuck dudes. That same idea, this parasite, and there's a bunch of different types of them, get into your gut and take over, and can change your cravings for food. They can make you moody. They can make you tired. And that's what ivermectin does. It's an antiparasitic. So ivermectin is a way to treat parasites. You can use it as a parasite cleanse to get that shit out.
Doesn't toxoplasmosis also make... Isn't it like rats commit suicide or something?
Yeah.
Like go get eaten by cats?
So the cats emit, I think it's like a pheromone or something that attracts rats
to their piss. I think that's what it is, right? Yeah. And rats that are infected with it, like, want to come to them or some crazy shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's like, I just saw a thing on Instagram the other day. I've seen it several times over the years, but it's like a parasite that fucking takes over bugs and like eats their whole body, but then takes charge of their body. And like these beetles they look like they're still alive, but all their guts and their brain, everything's eaten out.
It's not the cordyceps mushroom.
It might be that one.
Might be the cordyceps.
Because then there's zombies, right? There's zombie beetles,
right,
being controlled. So yeah, I mean, I think it is that one.
It's the same as the show. What is it? The Last of Us, or the one that was just on HBO.
Yeah, that was a very interesting first episode. And then when dude started making out, I was like, that ain't for me anymore.
I don't need that part of it.
He's a homophobe. No, I just like what I like, and that's not part of it.
That's not your flavor. That was a cordyceps mushroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they took over.
And didn't they say like currently it can do that to certain bugs, but it's something to do with like
ants, I think, especially. I think that it takes over. Yeah, grows in the ants' guts.
It's fucking nuts, dude. But it's something like to do with the human body temperature that it can't do it to us or some shit.
I think that we're too hot for it. Yeah.
Well, good, because I don't particularly want to become a zombie. But if I do, I'm gonna fuck people up.
If they hear about zombies, just stay away from Lake Stevens. Just don't come over here. There's too many badasses up here.
Bro, I don't know what it is about, like, I mean, I remember as a kid watching the old school ones, like Night of the Living Dead and shit. And I mean, that was even around before I was born, you know? Traditionally, us as humans, we have kind of all agreed that zombies are slow. Until World War Z.
Yeah, that was it.
And now, like, you don't know what you're getting with a zombie.
Well,
zombies aren't supposed to be able to sprint faster than
or breathe underwater, and, right?
Yeah, or swim.
That changed the paradigm completely. It was like, oh, I mean, this like slow lumbering, Michael Jackson,
yeah, exactly, dude.
Thriller zombie. I'll fuck that zombie up. But if it's running faster than me,
fucking World War Z. Remember, they'd run so fast that they could like climb walls and shit by. Yeah. Building piles of zombies on top of themselves,
climbing up each other. And what was the Will Smith movie? Do you remember that one? Oh, geez,
I Am Legend. That's a Will Smith movie, right?
That's where he's like the drunk homeless guy. There was one of the, everyone knows the movie we're thinking about, but it was a reaction to a vaccine that caused.
Is that why he slapped apocalypse. Chris Rock?
Keep my name
out your mouth,
motherfucking mouth.
I don't remember his fucking zombie movie.
Yeah,
was it good?
It was good.
He usually makes pretty good movies.
It was good. He had like a canine dog. He had like a German Shepherd dog that he cruised. Oh fuck!
I can visualize the cover of it actually.
Yeah,
I think I can.
Yeah, those zombies were also fast. That things changed then,
bro. And like people are fascinated by it, and why? Because it could happen.
It could happen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm also a believer, like, if you can think it, it could happen.
It may be happening now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, our brains are probably not even capable of thinking so abstract that it's outside of the realm of possibility.
I mean, what was the bath salt zombie guys that were like cruising around eating people's faces?
Faces, dude. Down in Miami or something, right?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
So protect yourself. Biohack yourself, stay healthy, stay strong, be hard to kill.
Yeah.
Keep oregano. I'm just going to make a case for oregano oil because it's cheap and effective.
Okay.
Anytime you get sick or your kids get sick, rub oregano. Oregano oil is one of the most powerful antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatories you can possibly consume.
How do you use it? I have some actually.
So if I feel like I've got like a little bit of sore throat, starting to feel like maybe there's something going on, I'll do 4 drops under the tongue. It burns like hell. It's really strong. And I'll just hold it under the tongue. I'll put it in my kids. I'll do 1 drop in my kids' like little, cup, and I'll do zinc. I'll do vitamin C. I'll do vitamin D. I'll do olive leaf extract, colloidal silver, and then a drop or 2 sometimes of oregano oil. But on the soles of the feet, like my son's got some bug or whatever, and he's kind of dealing with it, and he was feeling kind of lethargic yesterday. Last night, I just slathered on this oil of oregano on his feet, and he woke up perfectly fine. Like kicked it overnight, because the bottoms of the soles of our feet are really absorbent.
Okay.
And so you can pull in these herbs like through your feet. You can put like garlic in your socks too. That's kind of gross because then it's funky, but oregano oil.
Well, I remember my grandma used to rub Vicks Vapor Rub on my feet.
Yeah.
I wonder what's in there.
It's menthol, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so you're absorbing that menthol through your feet. Yeah, that alone, instead of antibiotics, do that first, right? Like ear infections, do oregano oil and olive leaf extract. Try this stuff first, these herbal remedies, and just see how they go before you go do the antibiotics. And you gotta do it quickly. But I'll do another thing too. The air that we breathe is also a bigger deal. This is another thing to get fucking paranoid about.
Yeah.
Right. But like we know that, we know the chemtrails are real. We know that they're spraying us with shit all the time. The air,
I'm not,
you're not on the chemtrail?
No.
train?
I'm not going to say I'm not on it. I'm very familiar with what people are referring to.
Yeah.
But I don't understand exactly what's taking place.
The idea is that they're spraying metals into the air constantly all the time. And there's video footage
with the intent of doing what?
With the intent
changing weather patterns.
So it's cloud seeding, right?
Okay.
To change weather patterns. And
is that literally like, hey, this area is fucking dry, let's bring some clouds, or is it like, let's fucking kill people?
It's let's kill people. I mean, they've made storms happen in the Middle East just by cloud seeding and cruising through the sky and either dropping metals to create storms, or they've got these like metal canisters that they'll do, and you can look this shit up. It's legit.
Well, bro, like if you would have told me that the government's trying to kill people 4 years ago, I'd be like, this guy's fucking cuckoo, But I think we all now know and believe that there are people in very fucking high-ranking, capable positions that not only do not have our best interest in mind, but have our worst interest in mind.
Yeah.
And if anyone thinks that's not true, where the fuck have you been for the last 3 years?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now nothing's off the table for me.
Right.
And it's kind of a freeing place to be, because it's like, all right, I'm not living in fear, but I'm open to understanding, because let's be honest, these people are our adversaries, right? What does your adversary not want you to know? The details of what they're doing and their plans and their schemes.
Right.
So fucking A, man. That's why like this podcast is a huge platform to talk about all this stuff. And I always say, like, Tyler Stanaway is on my show very often. He's very, very knowledgeable of all this stuff. And every time he's on the show, I tell him, like, I don't know what I believe to be true and what I don't believe to be true based on everything you've said, because I just don't. For me to believe something, I'm kind of that type of person that has to see it right here, right? I'm just a skeptic by nature. But the other side of that is I don't believe it's untrue either. So if I don't know personally, that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, let's use our shows as platforms to fucking just spread information and then let people decide for themselves.
Right.
That's the biggest problem in American media. It's pushing propaganda. Like, let's push information and then let individual people come to conclusions. Yeah. Right. And bro, like, not to go on a tangent, because I know we got to wrap up soon, but as a little boy, I remember this. I just got high the other night with Jenny, and I think we were watching a news channel or something. And one of the newscasters said a little, like, it was very minor, right? It was something, I don't even remember, but it was basically just interjecting a little opinion at the end, Well, that makes me really sad to hear that that's what happened, when I was a little boy, my dad used to be like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, we don't want to hear your opinion. We want to hear the news.
Yeah.
And then I remember my dad was like, dude, and I always tell people, Dana Anderson is me times 10, dude. He was out of control. I remember thinking like, fuck, dude, dad's crazy. Like, he's fucking swearing at the lady on TV. But he's like, no, bro. We don't need them to tell us how to feel about the story. We just need them to tell us the fucking story.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. And now here, all these years later, there is no news that just tells you the story. It's all fucking believe this, believe this, believe this.
Right.
You know? And you have to tune into different channels to be told to believe different things. CNN and Fox News should be almost identical. Because this is what's happening.
Right. This
is what's happening.
Right.
There's not two sides to what's happening.
It doesn't exist anymore. Honestly, like the sort of neutral reporting of the news, you know, some people like look back to like Dan Rather as like reporting facts, right? You know, I think at one point the New York Times did that. It's been a long time, but there's no such thing as objective news where it's just information, which allows you to create your own conclusions and create your own feelings.
And because if there was, that would empower people.
Yeah.
Because that would allow people to absorb information and then make conclusions. That's empowering.
Right.
Fuck no, you can't have people doing that.
Right.
We're going to tell them what to think. We're going to tell them what to believe.
Right.
And
who to be mad at, who to blame.
It's nuts, dude.
How you should respond.
You know, you referenced Andy Frisella earlier. I just listened to an episode of him while I was putting my rubber flooring in yesterday. And he's like, you see, they fired Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson on the same day.
Crazy.
And he's like, you know why they did that? He goes, I think the next push is to kind of, because dude, the powers to be have been dividing us. We hate each other. You tune into either of their shows and they're shining. I mean, I believe Tucker Carlson's a good man. I think he was actually trying to get the truth out, but he's definitely appealing to people that are on the right. Don Lemon's just spewing hate on the left. Let's get rid of these guys that have these big followings that are in conflict with each other. And let's just try and bring people closer together for a little bit, because it's like communism 101.
Right.
Once the people start to push back, we got to take our foot off the gas a little bit, let things simmer down before the next push.
Do you think like as a way to sort of homogenize like New World Order news, to take away that and to have like, this is now the official narrative?
I think as a way to prevent more people from waking up, because I think a lot of people have seen our government and our media for what it is. And it's like, you know, they talk to black people like they're fucking retarded. You know, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black, you know, or like, well, we can't require a driver's license because African Americans don't have them. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people are waking up to their schemes that in their inception were kind of rooted in like, we're concerned, we're caring. We want to take care of certain groups of people, but really it was all to keep people down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, of course.
Like, dude, I worked in Compton and South Central. The U.S. government isn't doing anything to fucking help those people dig their way out of that fucking hell that they're in.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Okay. There are some people that can do that. There's also a lot of people that can't.
Yeah.
But regardless, I mean, we could do 2 more shows on those 2 topics.
Yeah.
But I think Andy's onto something, that there are so many people that are fed up with the divisiveness and the just nonstop hate, and everybody's your fucking enemy and everybody's racist. And dude, if you're a patriot, it's because you're racist and you're white. Fitness is for Nazis, like just all the crazy shit. I think they realize we have to take our foot off the gas a little bit because people are waking up.
I think there's a lot to that. And I think that the legacy media, there's a really incredible podcast that really covers this in depth and goes into, you know, the sort of trans agenda and sort of new Marxism, you know, how woke is connected to communism, to socialism, to Marxism, dividing the family, you know, sons against daughters, et cetera, et cetera. It's called No Agenda. It's with Adam Curry, who's they call the Podfather. He invented the podcast. He was a MTV VJ. Adam Curry, it's him and John C. Dvorak. really great podcast, and they unpack this. And what I think to that point is that they're understanding that legacy media is slipping. It's slipping.
Well, bro, it's data now.
Right.
More people consume Joe Rogan than all media.
Exactly.
Than all major news networks.
Right.
You know, and Joe Rogan, and every time I bring Rogan up, people write me like, he's a fucking shill and he's a this and he's a that. Rogan is a free thinker. You know what I'm saying? Like,
of course,
regardless of where you put him politically, or if you think he's a liberal, or, you know, it's kind of funny because there's some conservatives that hate him because they think he's liberal.
Right.
And then there's some liberals that hate him because they think he's too conservative, but he's a free thinker. Right. I don't care what side of the aisle you necessarily fall on, as long as you're someone that can think objectively, can think critically, and can have conversations.
Yeah.
It's like, I actually want to sit down. I want to find someone that's like all pro fucking vaccine, pro mask, pro lockdown, like do my show. I want to hear the other side of it, you know? But it seems like there's almost nobody that is that person anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I just live in a bubble, you know, because I still do see people driving around with masks on.
I mean, I don't know that those people are very outspoken, right? They're turtling, right? They're kind of hiding, and they're hoping for the best, I think, you know, to a large extent. And I think to your point, like we should celebrate free thought. We should, you know, to go from Bernie Sanders supporting, you know, Rogan says, I like Bernie Sanders a lot, to now saying if it's Biden and Trump, I'm voting for Trump. That should tell you something. That tells you that I think that people are thinking critically. I think that he sort of exemplifies someone who is willing to think outside the box and change your mind.
And bro, there's no shame in that either.
Yeah.
It's like the older you get, maybe you change your perspective, you look at things a little differently, or you go through like these life altering things, like for me, like war or having children. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, now I need to look at things a little differently because of this or because of that. And it's okay to go back and forth on stuff. It's okay to like, I shouldn't say go back and forth because that makes you sound like wishy-washy.
It's okay to change your mind.
It's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
Right? It's not okay to change your mind every fucking 4 years just to appease the fucking voting class, you know? Right. But as a person, you should grow and you should change your perspectives. If you're the same person that you were at 20, at 45, bitch, we got a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's, I think everybody's starting to see like people like Rogan are actually, regardless if you agree with everything or not, like that's someone that's bringing value, and I want to listen to them.
You're right.
And they hate him, I'm sure. They hate Andy Frisella.
Of course they do.
They hate Mike Glover. They hate the people that are just rooted in reality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That sort of, you know, thinking about like this, like embodied this masculine, right? Like true masculinity, not like your smarmy boss that makes you feel uncomfortable. Not talking about the dick that's all over you all the time.
Like machismo bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that, but like ready for anything, prepared, flexible in the way that they think, standing up for their own morals, you know, doing what they think is right, given you know, whatever sort of context and situation, and looking and doing their own research for themselves. And that I think is a skill that all of us need to develop, especially when it comes to health and optimization. Is you got to just do your own research. You got to try things. Don't just listen to, you know, the ads or you know, the Western medical paradigm. Doctors don't have any ideas for you, right? They will repair you. They will help you if you get in a car accident, but they're not going to make you healthier because they don't know how, right? And legacy media, and you know, and this corollary, legacy media is so bought and paid for by big pharma.
It's gross, bro.
It's their meal ticket. It's everything. All of their ad dollars come from there, and so that's getting shaken up.
And bro, the more fucking sedated and compliant we are, the richer they fucking get.
Totally.
You know, and like, I mean, we're running out of time, and I want to go on a fucking rant right now. But it's like that's also what all that fucking transgender shit's rooted in.
Yeah.
Let's demonize masculinity. Let's tell kids that if you're having a hard time finding your identity, it's probably because you were born in the wrong body. I'm going to let every motherfucker listening know, in on a little fucking secret. People have a struggle when they are finding who they are as a young man or a young woman. Welcome to fucking human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who didn't look in the mirror and be ashamed of what they look like, or wish they were somebody else, or I'm not popular enough, nobody likes me? Like, that's called fucking life.
Yeah.
But now we tell these kids, no. It's because you're actually a woman. Or you try and like, you know, they're trying to fucking like celebrate these people, like that fucking, the new Navy recruiter guy. You see that shit? Like, bro, the fucking military is in existence to kill enemies of our fucking country. That's what it's here to do. So you want the wildest, toughest, most testosterone filled son of a bitches that America has to offer.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put a fucking dude that thinks he's a woman as like, look how inclusive we are. If you're a man, but you think you're a woman, we celebrate you. Motherfuckers like me, we ain't interested.
Yeah.
And so it's like every fucking place that they can, they're weakening us.
Right.
The media's doing it. The military's doing it. And it's like, I used to think it was all done by incompetence, but you have to draw the conclusion that it's being done by design.
You can't get away from it. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, bro.
It's everywhere. It's in all the schools. It's in the media.
And another way that another way that you know that it's an agenda is because almost every conservative person I know, literally, almost every single conservative person I know doesn't care who you fuck when you go home.
Yeah. Right.
You know, if I go upstairs and my wife dresses up like a dude and then I put a dress on and we pretend we're the opposite sex and then we fuck and like, nobody gives a fuck about that. You go do you, man. But the fact that it's like, no, you can't just go do you and be happy. You have to not only be accepting of everybody else, but you have to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's being force fed so hard that you know it's an agenda.
Yeah.
And bro, it's something like fucking, I think 1 in 4 fucking high school age kids now is like identifying as a different sex or some bullshit like that. And it's like, here we go. Welcome to an easy country to invade, China.
Yeah. It's been a good run, man. It's been a good run.
We had a good run.
It's been a good run.
And hey, every empire fucking falls and we will be no different.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Will it happen in our lifetime? Probably. You know?
Yeah.
Well, fuck, man. We got to go to jiu-jitsu.
Let's go.
And so instead of wrapping up on New World Order and China fucking taking over America, just tell people where to find you and where to connect with you and all that good shit. And then we got to go train.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So easy to find, SeanMcCormick.com, SeanMcCormick, SeanMcCormick.com, real Sean McCormick on Instagram. I'm super easy to find. If you like any of the ideas that I put forth, if you want some ideas for biohacking or personal optimization, I want to hear from you. I mean, I've got so much respect for what you're doing, Greg, and I love your style. I love your approach. You mean what you say. You walk the talk, and I know that your listeners do too, because I can see it and I appreciate it. So it's an honor to be on your podcast today, and hopefully it didn't freak too many people out. And
bro, I already know people dig this episode. It was good vibes and it was good info. And so it's cool. You're a local guy, and maybe we just make this every 6-month deal, bounce back and forth between each other's shows and keep spreading fucking goodness and sharing the message, man.
Dig it. I'm in.
All right, bro, let's train.
Let's train.